Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Evening, everyone. Can I have a motion to open up the town board meeting April 24th?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, first item on the agenda is public hearing. Can I have a motion to open the public hearing for introductory law number 2?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Continued public hearing on introductory law number 2 entitled A Local Law Creating Chapter 21 Receiver of Taxes and Assessment Position, abolishing thereof, of the Code of the Town of Goshen and increasing the term of the clerk from 2 to 4 years. Public hearing is now open for anyone from the public that would like to address this issue.
Thank you, everyone. It's Mark Buckheit, past, present, and future longtime town resident. I'd like to hear from the board why we are seeking to make this change.
You want me to answer that?
You can, or I'll answer it. Whatever.
It was an elected position, and the tax collector is elected position is part-time. So she's only here in January from Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 10 to 2 is the requirement. March, she goes down to 2 days a week, and then February, 2 days a week. March, she comes in 2 days a week, and then she's spent it. The problem is when people come in to pay their taxes, I can't accept it because I'm not the tax receiver. So people get annoyed because not everybody can drop off their taxes between 10 and 2. So if we put them in from longer hours, most of the town clerks in the county now are tax receivers also, so that they can give the service from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday for people. If we do change it, we would have to pay the tax receiver, at least from the average of the towns that do have tax receivers, $30,000 a year plus benefits.
Okay, so would you characterize it as a kind of easy way to save some money?
Cost
reduction.
And to
Yeah.
give you
Okay.
a better service.
Okay, it seems to me it's two separate proposals. One is to eliminate the position, and the other is to extend the term of the town clerk from 2 years to 4 years.
The tax receiver term is 4 years, so I figured we could just blend them together. And a lot of the town clerks are 4-year terms now in Orange County.
Okay, thank you very much.
Anyone else?
Hi, good evening. I'm the tax receiver for the town of Goshen, and I was elected,
State your name, Nan, for the record.
Nan Gill Wilson, and I was elected for a 1-year term. And I was told that I only had to work Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but I came in anyway, and whenever they needed me. And we appointed Kat and Mary as deputies. So if I wasn't there, they could accept payments. And there's $24,000 in this year's budget for the receiver of taxes. And they only gave me 3 months of the 12. And I don't know why, but I'm willing to, and I said I'm willing to do whatever you need done. I'm supposed to start working on the budget because according to the Tax Receivers Association, the tax receiver is supposed to work on the budget with the town. So, and that starts in August, from August to November. So, you know, I've been here, I'm here more than, 3 days a week from 10 to 2. And I come in whenever they need me.
Yeah,
And I'm
just so you know,
willing to
the
do
comments
more.
that Mary made were not against you.
No, I
This was
understand.
what our decision was prior to you getting elected. That's why we did it. So I don't want you to think that this has anything to do with your performance or anything else. Nobody is questioning what what you've done for us. Just so we're clear, that's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm a good tax receiver, so have me next year. Because I'm a team player, and I want to work together to make a world that works better for everyone, and that's why I decided to accept a position. So I want to stay with you guys. I love you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Neil Halloran. I guess I have more questions, really. If we abolish this position, what's going to happen to the $24,000 or the $30,000? That's just
I'm not sure where the $24,000 number came from.
You guys save it. I don't know the 24 because
okay.
Judy only got 10,000.
10,000.
I don't know how there was 24.
Okay, so
There's
what-
only 10,000 allotted, and
So-
Judy never helped with the budget.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of things tonight I never heard
Never
about.
heard about.
Okay, so I never heard about it, and I would assume that Nan's not expected to work with the budget now either. I thought it was always Christine that was doing
Christine,
it.
exactly.
Right.
Budget officer does 99% of the budget with each of the department heads.
Yeah, no, that's what I understood. When Nan said that, I just was totally surprised. So I guess I'm wondering, and I think 10,000 was about what I really thought was being paid. I'm surprised to hear 24,000 tonight, or you saying 30,000.
No, yeah. Well, 10,000 was to Judy, but Judy didn't do it in-house. She had a Dropbox. She didn't even open your check. She mailed it up to Buffalo.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, sometimes they would get lost in the mail, or the bank would make a mistake, and it's really hard to find the errors. That's why I brought it in-house and started processing it here. And your checks clear faster within a day instead of 2
That's the biggest complaint. What happened? I used to have 15 days.
That's right. Now, okay, so I'm back to the question, if it's really a cost savings, what's going to happen to the money? If it's $10,000, where's it going? And
back to the budget.
I assume that, the same thing you're saying, that you can't accept the payments because you're not the taxes collector. I assume that nobody else in your office would be able to accept it, except you either.
So-
Deputy.
So when Judy retired,
Right, yeah.
the board passed a temporary measure making Mary the tax collector and Kat the assistant tax collector, and we allocated the funds that were there to them, and that's how they got it done.
No, I'm just, the law as it's being proposed right now doesn't seem to capture what you intend to do. I mean, and I'm not objecting to what you're trying to do. I'm saying it probably is much more likely that it's going to be within the town clerk's office if it goes that way, rather than just.
That's where it is in the rest of the county, within the tax.
And what I'm saying is, it's not going to go to the town clerk, or
Goes to the town clerk. Town clerk becomes the receiver of taxes.
Okay, I'm not quite sure why that is, especially if you're saying you're going to be having other people deputized or whatever else.
I want to keep the work in-house, so me as town clerk, I always have a deputy and I have a part-timer. So the three of us can handle tax season for the amount of time that it's.
Okay, I guess I don't understand why a tax collector couldn't do the same thing and have the deputies also.
Yeah, but you have to
If
pay
you want,
them.
if they want.
Yeah.
if
You're
they-
paying me anyway. I'm
So
not
I
getting a
understand,
raise, I'm not
So,
getting
Neil,
more money.
I got what you're saying though. So, it's twofold for us. So it either becomes a cost-cutting measure or an increase in salary. So the average tax collector now in the county is making roughly around 36,000 plus benefits. Puts that package somewhere around $60,000. And all they're allowed to do is collect taxes. So basically, it's a very boring job that you're sitting around waiting for people to come in. A good portion of the taxes get paid online. Most people just pay it. We looked at it from we spoke about it on the town board, and we looked at it from a cost-cutting measure that we could save the town potentially, right now, 10,000, but potentially 60,000 if we had to put a full-time tax collector in play.
So I don't
That's all it
understand.
was.
Yeah, no, I don't understand why you'd ever consider putting a full-time tax collector at $60,000 a year or $30,000 a year. I don't understand where that person's going to do all that work. I just, even at 3 months at $10,000, and it's not even a full-time 3 months.
It would be 12 months when Nan gets elected, she's elected for the whole year.
Yes.
The job really, January is the busiest month. We collected $11 million.
Yep.
Okay? February, it's a little slower. We go to about 3 million, and by March, you're done. So most tax collectors the rest of the year only go in maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks. But they do it all year round, but there's nothing to do
Except back in
For
November,
those 3
November,
months,
December, when they get the mail
November and
ready.
December and put out the
Right,
bills.
yeah, I think I understand it. It's just not being explained very well to the people, I don't think.
Well,
They didn't ask for
I
it.
don't, I want to make sure that everybody understands, this is not a reflection on Nan.
No,
She's been
I'm not-
unbelievable in what she's done for us, so
No.
I'm not questioning, this was well before Nan, this was all decided.
No,
So, and just to be clear, she was a writing candidate, and God
Yes.
bless her, you know, but we didn't anticipate that, so we're still going under the mindset of what we decided 6 months ago on how we move forward.
No, I didn't take it as an affront to Nan. I was just,
Okay.
in general, I say,
But if Nan gets elected in November, she's entitled to a salary of at least 30,000.
well, I don't see where you're coming up with that, because I think the town
Because
board,
that's what the
That's the
average is, and that's what the average is for the job.
but you don't have, you don't ever have to say you're gonna pay it on that basis.
We'll discuss it at budget time.
I would
You're
think so.
absolutely right.
I
It may not be 30, it may be what we think the market.
I think
will
whatever
bear,
makes
what's
sense.
Correct.
Sure.
That's when we'll do it. So
Sure,
this
but
is not-
I think it's misleading to say right now that, hey, it's gonna, if we keep the position open as a separate,
Yeah.
it's gonna cost us an extra $30,000 or $60,000 a year. I think that's incorrect.
So what, let me ask you a question, so let's just say we go through the election process and this gets turned down and Nan wins. If that's what ends up happening, that's great. But no, hold on,
okay,
hear me
I'm
out.
sorry, yes.
And then it happens. Nan's gonna come in and say, okay, you want me here year round, I'm not doing it for $10,000, I'm just not doing it. Now, she may say she's going to, but she may be the only one that does that.
Yes.
The reality of it is the job, it's an important job and a risky job. You're responsible for all of the money that comes into this budget. There's a risk that goes along with it.
Yeah.
There's a salary compensation that should happen for that. I wouldn't do it for $10,000.
No.
I think depending on what the expectations are out of that position, yes. Certainly if she becomes a budget officer, absolutely, she needs a heck of a lot more. Or if she's expected to be here year-round, I would also agree that she deserves a lot more. But I haven't been here for years.
I guess I'm kind of confused on the comments. I'm not sure what you're commenting on, whether we should have a tax collector, but she shouldn't get more than $10,000. I'm just trying to be clear on your position.
No,
that's all.
I think, sure, at this point in time, having been in the town hall for years and having watched the Judy do all the collecting or whatever, I never saw her spend that much time more than, yeah, she was here in December and she was here up through March probably. But other than that, she was not here the rest of the year for the most part.
But that doesn't make what her job responsibilities were supposed to be accurate, you know? She didn't do what she was supposed to be, and unfortunately, nobody pushed her to the limit on that, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that we spent 7 months trying to find $8,000 that we said was double paid. The books were never reconciled. It's an important job for the town's money to make sure we watch out for it.
I don't
So,
disagree.
And Nan's done a phenomenal job. I just don't think she's gonna do it for $10,000, because I wouldn't do it for $10,000.
But I don't think that Mary's gonna pick up all that responsibility for $10,000 either.
Well, yeah, because she's
I
a
picked
full-time
it up
employee
for
getting
nothing.
paid already.
And
When Judy got
Pardon?
sick, I didn't.
She's a full-time employee, an elected full-time employee with a salary commensurate of that job. Yes, so she is getting paid for it. It's additional work, but not much additional work if you're already getting paid.
perhaps, okay. Anyhow, I guess I still, I like the idea of having a separate tax collector. I also, and this, again, I'm sorry, Mary, it's not a
Well, this
reflection on you.
will go on the
but I-
referendum,
Pardon?
Neil, it'll
That-
be on
that's
the
what we're-
referendum.
Yeah, I
And it'll
know.
go up for a vote, and
But this
and
is
depending.
public comment, it may go
No,
on.
no,
the
I'm just
record.
saying,
Yeah.
you-
No,
I'm trying to
Yeah.
answer your question.
Yes.
It will go on the referendum, so it's not something that.
Okay. And the second part of that is I really, it has nothing to do with Mary, it has nothing to do with anybody else, but I don't believe any of these terms should go from 2 years to 4 years. I think it takes the ability of the tax collectors or the voters to have some more say, other than to have to wait every 4 years to have a real say about this.
so
I
you're
think
saying if you're elected, you'll reduce your term to 2 years?
if all the town board wants to go with it, sure, I'm all for it. And then we have to have it all for years, only every year we have to have it. But yeah, I think we should have some of it continue so that I don't say 1 year is one and then two.
If you look at how other municipalities are going, everybody's going towards a 4-year term. The reason is you can't get nothing done in 2 years. It's almost impossible to get things done in 2 years.
And I agree, except for the fact that I know that if you look at any of the prior town supervisors or town highway superintendents and town clerks, none of them had a problem being reelected, and none of them had a problem being in the office for 10 years in a row or something. And that's not a reflection of the fact that they had only 2 years. It's a reflection of the job they were doing.
Yeah,
And I think that's,
listen, I don't disagree with you, Neil. I mean,
So
we're following in suit what other towns does, whether it's right or wrong, and the public has the ability to say no, and we welcome that. If
I
we
want to
say no,
say
we say
something,
no.
we were gonna keep comments to 3 minutes tonight.
okay.
I mean,
All right, I guess that's 3 minutes. Anyhow, thank you very much.
Thanks, Neil.
It's me again. I have here Nan Gill Wilson. I have here the first aid kit that was put out by New York Association of Tax Receivers and Collectors, NYSATRC. And in here, it says procedures that are a must. Town law requires that collecting officer must submit to the supervisor a monthly statement verifying monies that have been received, collected. So that's not just January, February, March, that's every month.
But yeah, there's no collections after March. It goes
But
to-
you
it goes
still
to the-
have interest on your account.
It goes to the county levies back to us.
Right, and there's still money in the account. There's $1 million in there right now, and you get interest on that. And I'm supposed to write a check for you every month for the interest
sorry,
when,
No,
sorry.
that
There's
money,
no money in the
yeah.
account. After you're done it, when we get this bank statement, there's zero left.
You write
in
the check to the
account.
town, that money doesn't sit in the tax collector account. You go down to zero at that point, or whatever, a couple of bucks that are in there to keep the account open.
Nothing, yeah.
okay, because I wrote a check for $1,071,000, and there was still over $1 million in the account.
That was to the county, there's 11,000 in the account now. Sorry, man.
Okay,
But I understand what you're saying. I mean, but technically, once all the taxes are received, and we close at March, whatever we haven't get collected goes to the county re-levies and sends us a check.
okay, well,
And
that's
at
the
that
one
point-
thing. And then the second thing is preparing a budget. Preparing a budget is a requirement for all receivers and collectors, and the process usually begins in August and ends in November, when the town board adopts the town budget. A good guide, and then they go on to that. So it's my responsibility as tax receiver
For your budget.
Tax receiver budget.
Just
to
for
make
your
a
budget.
budget.
Yeah, not the budget of every department. It is Jen, the budget office's job to sit down with every one of the department heads, request the information on what they want and what they want their budget to look like, and then it's up to me to look at it and say, no, you're not getting it, yes, you're gonna get it. Then I sit down with the town board, we all agree on what the budget's going to be. But yeah, you're right, for your particular budget,
Right.
which doesn't change much, okay, you have to come in August and say, okay, this is what my budget's going to be.
Now, when I looked at the town, the town budget, it said that there was $24,000 in the budget for the receiver of taxes. And I asked, in the back, it says that the tax receiver only gets $6,000, but in the budget, it says it's $24,000. But I
can
asked
check.
Mary, I said, so if I'm not here, she said she got the money last year. And they had her and Kat and one other person working, so why not have Kat and me and one other person working?
Okay, well.
Kat
I
and
can-
Mary
I
and
can
one
assure you
other.
that Mary didn't get $24,000 last year. Okay, they split $10,000 between the two of them. and-
Okay,
Okay, but I will find out tomorrow from Jen where this $24,000 is in the budget. I don't recall it being there.
Okay.
I mean, with what our budget looked like this year, I definitely would have cut it out.
right.
But
Well,
you have my word, I will check, and when I see you tomorrow, we'll go over it with Jen.
I'm willing to be the third person that they have.
And I got you.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak on this behalf? No? All right, can I get a motion to close the public hearing, introductory law number 2 of 2025, entitled Law Creating Chapter 31, Receiver of Taxes and Assessment Position, abolishing thereof of the Code of the Town of Goshen, and increasing the term of the clerk to 2 to 4 years.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Roll call?
Yeah. Councilmember Gallo? Aye. Councilmember Florio?
Aye.
Councilmember Lyons?
Aye.
Councilmember Cantorino?
Aye.
Supervisor Petra?
Aye. Next item on the agenda,
you wanna do them together, you can, Joe.
Do both of them together, no problem with that?
Open them both together.
All right, so can I get a motion to open the public hearing for introductory law number 1 and introductory law, local law number 3, entitled Local Law Increasing the Term of the Town Supervisor from 2 to 4 years, and the Highway Superintendent from 2 to 4 years. Do I have that motion?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Floor is open to the public.
Good evening, my name is Chris Healy, Town of Goshen. I'd like to open my comments this evening by saying that this introductory local law is not about the current town supervisor. Supervisor Betro has served our community with distinction. I like the guy, I voted for the guy, I'd like to vote for him again. That said, this isn't about the man, it's about how we conduct our government. In the process, George Washington called a great experiment. Every local law passed in this town is for the betterment of the overall town. A new law can change the way we do things. It might be a hardship for some, but overall, it's good for the well-being of the town. A new law might affect a few, it might affect many. This law, local law number 1, affects every single voter in Goshen. When we complain about our elected leaders, and we do complain about them from time to time, when we grumble and someone eventually says, well, what can I do about it? The answer in a democracy is always the same. You can vote. The town supervisor is the chief executive and the most powerful elected position in our town. How laws are made, how tax dollars are spent, the direction, the future of our town, it all begins with the supervisor. Every 2 years, the voters get to decide whether or not they like the way things are going. If they do, it usually ends in re-election. If they aren't happy with their leadership, they get a chance to say so with their vote. It's the bedrock of our entire society. This introductory law proposes to double the time the voters get to have their say. It's a 100% increase that negatively affects 100% of the voters. There is no upside to this law. The law strips our rights. This law hurts our town. I've seen local laws passed in town hall. You have a public hearing and you hold the vote, and I hope you do that tonight. Don't put it off. We're all here for the show. Have your vote here in front of us tonight. We want to see who would delay the voice of the voters here in Goshen. On election day, I get 1 vote. I can tell you this. For any board member that says yes to this introductory local law, says yes to disenfranchising the voters here in Goshen, you don't deserve my vote when I see your name on a ballot. My name's Chris Healy. Thank you.
So, if I could respond, you know why? I'll respond. And I appreciate it. I appreciate what you said and somewhat agree with what you said. But now you're asking us to say no to this and take the vote out of every taxpayer in this town that may disagree with you, correct?
Well, first of all, we did give this a referendum last time, and the voters said no.
By
So are
30
we just
votes.
going to keep putting it up every
No,
time?
You only get it twice. This is the second and last time it'll go up.
Yeah, I'm saying it. Well, it went up once before, and it was denied.
Right.
It was voted no.
It was voted down by 32 votes.
I remember. And as I remember at the time, I didn't even know anything about it. And I was paying attention to stuff because it came in real quiet. And by the way, we are having a conversation about this now, maybe. A month ago, when this board decided to put this to a public forum, it did so about as quietly as I remember anything ever being done. Generally, when an introductory local law is proposed, the law is discussed amongst the board members. We at the audience hear it. Town members can watch it on video, think about it a little bit. The way this came through was the most quiet. Okay, can I get a motion to put this on the public? Everybody say yes, yes, and it was done. There was no discussion about it whatsoever. It came through really, really quiet. Watch the video.
We didn't have a public hearing?
We didn't have a public hearing. I'm saying when the board set this date for the public hearing, there was no discussion of the board members why we should do this, how it would affect the voters. There was no discussion whatsoever.
I think that, I'm not disagreeing with you, Chris. I think the whole purpose of the law is to give the ability to every taxpayer to determine which way they want to go. And they may all go with you, and that's fine, and that's what they did the last time. But what you're asking us to do, and I think it's unfair to say that you're not voting for anybody that said yes on this dais tonight, based on the fact that you want us to take the vote away from every other person in the town.
Who's asking for the vote? Who does it help? Who wants it? Who does this help?
Well, it only dropped by 32 votes. Hold on, it dropped by 32 votes. So there were over 300 people that said yes to it the last time. So you're asking me to cancel what they're saying. Maybe they have great reasons for it. I don't know. I don't know what their reasons are. But if it got voted down 640 to 20, that's a different story. It was like 360 to 330. So there was 330 people that wanted it to happen. 360 didn't want it to happen. But isn't that what we're supposed to do? We're supposed to give the vote to the people? The second time, if it gets voted down this time, it never comes up again. I don't know.
If we're going to speak plainly, then let's speak plainly. I understand how this is going to work. It's an off year. Democrats don't come out in the off year. The GOP committee has their people in their pocket and knows who's going to come out and vote for this. Let's speak plainly. I know how this goes.
So let me correct you for a minute. If you go back and look at the comments that were made, I can tell you every Democratic elected official was in favor of that law, including the head of the Democratic Party for Orange County, Zach Constantine, went for it. James Skoufis went for it. You know who voted it down? All the Republicans.
You said we can't get anything done in 2 years. You'd made that mention to Mr. Halloran. Just in 2024, we allowed Science of the Soul to go ahead and build out, even though their deal was built. The deal was to have Amy's Kitchen first, but Supervisor Betcher assured us Amy's had $36 million in the site and they weren't going to walk away, and of course they walked away. We spent a lot of time talking about used energy, turning garbage into gold. The state said that was a dumb idea, but I'm not a scientist, so I just paraphrased that. We changed the weight limit for trucks on Houston. We amended Chapter 80B solid waste law. We passed a law giving volunteer ambulance and fire workers a partial tax break. Awesome. We passed a law that said that you can't sell groundwater. We authorized the Joint Rec Commission to establish park rules. We got a green sand filtration system for Ham Park, put lights on the girls' softball field. We approved so many solar farms I lost count. Consolidated water districts, consolidated the sewer districts. Negotiated a new host agreement with IWS that included a favorable payback to us for past sins. Commissioned Delaware Engineering to write a study on the feasibility of a new commercial water district. We approved a new water and sewer levy. We commissioned a new traffic study. We established a new ambulance district. We purchased a new John Deere loader for the highway department. And we seem to have tied ourselves in knots over the issue of short-term rentals. These are just the highlights. But you absolutely understand what I'm saying here. Whatever you say, don't say we can't get anything done in 2 years.
Also pass the guideline on public comment time.
Got you.
But that's,
Thank you, Mr. Brady.
That was
let you
Joe's
go.
fault.
Thank you, Mr. Healy. Mark Buckheit, past, present, and future longtime resident of the town of Goshen. I just find it amazing that other speakers can stand up here and make these comments and think so clearly when there's this pink elephant laying on the conference table there, this 800-pound pink elephant that just keeps distracting me, and it's an idea that nobody wants to talk about. Nobody wants to talk about the pink elephant that we all see. Coming back to Mr. Healy's point, I would say that the 2-year term in simple mathematics gives voters twice as many opportunities to vote on their elected officials. It's pro-democracy, it's pro-democratic. It's not restrictive. A 4-year term is much more restrictive. So, 250 years ago, a very reluctant, red-headed farmer from Virginia who did not want to be dragged into politics decided to put his life on hold, risk his life, and at the urging of his colleagues, he drafted a document that became one of our foundational documents in the United States. He took a quill pen and parchment at the behest of his colleagues, other colonists, and drafted what became the Declaration of Independence. And I would like to read just a little bit from that, and I want to read exactly so that I'm not corrected by any constitutional scholars in the room here. So we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. They are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We all know that. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. In the vernacular, we don't like kings, and we like to have the ability to throw out the bumps. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they're accustomed. In the vernacular, don't fix what ain't broke. But then a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same objective, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism. It is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. So what that basically says is, we don't like kings, and we like the ability to remove people. By putting in a 4-year term, we make that much, much harder for the populace to change their government. To summarize, Mr. Betro has said that this is just the way the towns are going, so we gotta play along here. Well, I don't know, the research that I've done, I could only come up with a couple of towns that are not our peers largely, that have 4-year terms. I don't think Monroe's our peer. I don't think Middletown's our peer. I certainly don't think, and I hope Palm Tree is not our peer, and I don't think Newburgh is our peer. Goshen is a rural agricultural community that is largely homeowner owned, and we are doing fine in the system that we are doing now. We don't need entrenched bureaucracies. We want the ability to update our government as we see fit. And by giving the voters the ability to do that every 2 years versus every 4 years, we can have a lot faster change if we have to respond to change in our community. And I think I get out a lot and I talk to a lot of people, and I think you're going to be very surprised that there is a great desire for change, and there is a great concern about the direction that we are going in this town, and I think a lot of people want to come back to where we were. And by making the term 4 years, not 2 years, you're disenfranchising the voices. Did you get any public comments on any of this?
3 minutes are up.
Did you get any public comments? Any letters or anything that maybe should be read here?
No.
Nope,
No, you didn't get a letter from Holly O'Hearn?
I didn't get one.
If I did, I gave it out to the town board. That might have been one of the first.
Did you have it? I'll gladly have you read it.
I can read it.
Yeah, go ahead.
She makes some very good points. Thank you. Let me
It's in
call
your
it up here.
emails from the date. Give them the date, Mark. It
Uh,
was the day a while ago.
You might be asking for a lot on that. This is a phone. Okay. Um,
Sorry.
let's see,
Yes,
page
I
one.
remember
Okay.
that. I
Okay.
remember how-
First point is, the current system, and I'm summarizing here, is a better reflection of voter sentiment. 2-year elections better reflect the current will of the electorate. With longer terms, dissatisfaction with leadership may not be addressed until it's too late to prevent further negative impacts. Next page. Maintain continuity with local offices. In some municipalities, local elections for other offices are held every 2 years, and aligning the supervisor's term with these elections simplifies the electoral process and increases voter turnout. Research. Upon researching the election terms for town supervisors in Orange County, it appears that the majority of the county's towns elect their supervisors for 2-year terms. This distribution suggests that 2-year terms are most common. In conclusion, imposing term limits on the town supervisor offers several advantages, notably increased accountability, alignment of changing needs, encouraging transparency, preventing stagnation, better reflection of voter sentiments, and maintaining maintaining community with other local offices. I oppose 4-year term limits as I believe that 2-year terms attain the ideal balance. Respectfully, Holly O'Hearn. So I just want to read that. Were there many other public comments? A little while ago, I was told that I was the only person that was saying this kind of stuff and nobody had heard of anything like this.
Holly sent it to me on March 11th, and I forwarded it to the town
So
board.
again,
Yeah.
let's just go back to what my original thought was.
Right.
Should we silence everybody in the town and just not have a vote? Is that what you're asking us to do?
What?
Well, silence everybody in the town. They
Well,
don't
we
get to
don't
vote yes or no.
we don't bring every law up for renegotiation at every election. And what this law, leaving it the way it does, is it encourages people to come out and it gives them the opportunity every 2 years to make changes.
Okay.
I'm all in favor of having votes. You know, I spent some time in Switzerland. It's a little annoying to spend your whole Sundays going to referendums every Sunday on whether, you know, we're going to buy a new snowplow or something like that. It's a little bit the extreme. But we're not going through every law that we have in the town of Goshen every 2 years and saying, well, maybe we should change this, maybe we should change that. If not, you know, this would all be a full-time job, and none of this is a full-time job. It shouldn't be, okay? Certainly for our founding fathers, you know, it was 2 weeks in Philadelphia every year, a week to get there, a week to get back, and that was the nation's business. So
what you're saying is none of us should work full-time?
I don't think the town supervisor's job is a full-time job.
What's that?
I don't think the town supervisor's job is a full-time job, and I don't think being a town councilman is a full-time job. You know, yeah. Thank you.
Hi, my name is David Wilson. I am a Goshen resident. I've been for the last 16 years. I think now what I'd like to really hear is the pragmatic side of this whole thing. Where are the numbers? What is it that's compelling about this proposal based on, since we're all facing a chainsaw, you know, and to cut our budgets and to trim our expenditures everywhere? What makes this a compelling economic argument? Where's the actual factual that makes it an economic choice? Because that's what people seem to be looking for. Something that's not only going to give them a representation, but it's also going to do it at the best price. So do you guys have figures on what the difference is between a 4-year and a 2-year term in setting up those elections, or what the cost of running the government might be? What the increases might be year to year, projections of any of that nature? Do you have any pro forma and a plan that shows us what a 4-year term would look like in terms of not the individuals here per se, but the positions themselves, given the issues that we currently face? Because that, to me, is the most compelling conversation to have. See, that's what we hear. That's what we're hearing every day, is that you got to cut this and you got to cut that, and these people got to go and those people got to go. Well, you know, I just as soon not see anybody go. I just as soon see how economically we can make it all work together. So, you know, for me, I just want to see the numbers.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't follow you. I don't know what numbers you're looking for. Nothing changes on a 2-year to a 4-year term. I mean, nothing.
Well, I don't think that's true, and that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Elaborate on what you think is true.
Well, okay,
So I can
so
follow
how about this? What's the cost of running a 2-year election? The cost to the town, the cost to the taxpayer?
It doesn't cost us anything. The Board of Elections, the county runs the elections. The only time it costs the town is when we run a special election.
Okay, so then you eliminate special elections.
Correct.
Okay, good. So there's a cost there, but there's no tangible number to it.
No, because every November, the county pays for the elections. The Board of Elections, it's their responsibility.
Okay, whether the county pays for it or we pay for it here, we're still paying for it. We're the taxpayer.
But you can't cut out an election in November. There's always has to be an election. There's always somebody running for office.
Well, yeah.
Every year, somebody runs for office, whether it's an off year or an on year. The county exec one year, then the sheriff runs a different year. So there's always an.
So there's absolutely no cost impact to moving to expanding these terms to a 4-year. That's what you're saying.
Not from a cost for the election, no.
Okay.
So we're not paying into having this election. Had we had a special election, then yes, we would have been paying for that special election. And we listened to the people of the town of Goshen, and we agreed. You know, we don't need to spend this money. Okay, let's wait until November, and that's what we did. Well, that's what we're here doing, and say that's what we did.
And then all of those things that would have been in the referendum would be items on the election on the ballot.
Correct. Yeah.
Specifically.
Correct. Whatever we vote, if we vote yes or no on this, it would go on the November election as a proposition. No additional cost to the taxpayer.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't quite get that, but.
Jason Tao. I own Wagon Wheel Farm, and
I'm sorry, could you say your name?
Yep, Jason Tao, T-O-U-W. Some of you folks know me. I own Wagon Wheel Farm, business in Goshen, and I'm also the president of the Orange County Farm Bureau. And this has been a topic of our discussions. We have a lot of farmers in the town of Goshen, and I'm also a registered Republican, and I want to make sure that this has, again, no reflection on anybody that's in front of us. James Madison authored the Constitution. He's considered the father of the Constitution, and he wrote 2-year terms for senators and congressmen because he believed that the people that were on the ground locally in each district needed to have more of a voice in their government than less of a voice in their government. And that really echoes everything that we've heard here tonight. I don't disagree that the people that may want 4-year terms should also get a vote in that. I do believe that having this discussion 18 months after it was just brought up is a little preemptive. And I would think that the board should, in order to preserve some image, consider giving people just a little bit more time before this November. Thank you.
I just want to note one thing, that senators are elected for 6 years. I'm not a constitutional scholar, but I think it's important to clear that up. So 6 and 2.
I have a very simple thing. I'm Jeremy Zweig. I'm on Abbey Road in Goshen. I think if the board could clarify when this law would begin to take effect, what elections it would affect. Because for clarity, I think people don't necessarily understand that this November election would not be impacted by this
Affected
vote.
by
So
it.
if you could just clear that up for everybody.
Yeah, it would be 2028. 2028? Yeah, 2020, November of 2027.
Election in effect January of the term starting January 20.
Good evening, Tom Howe, 6 Boxwood, Goshen. I won't be citing James Madison or Thomas Jefferson, but I would prefer to see us continue with a 2-year term for supervisor. I would prefer to keep the term to 2 years, and it does give voters more flexibility to rearrange things if that's what they feel like doing. So, thank you.
Frank Marsiglio, Smith Road, Goshen, New York. Resident of the town for 35 years. Been through a lot of supervisors over the years. 2 years always worked. There's never a problem. If they didn't do a good job, we got rid of them. If they did a good job, they're back. Very simple. Made everybody happy. Thank you.
It seems strange being in here with sneakers and blue jeans. And anyway, I would like to say to the public and to the board. Oh, Doug Bloomfield.
We don't know you.
Okay, don't by the way, I heard it's not a full-time job. I tried to stay in that office all the time because you don't know when someone's going to walk in and want to talk about something. And so it is. I may not be full-time involved in something, okay? But one of the advantages, I think, of the 2-year, and I did it 8 times. I'm the second longest seated supervisor since 1894. So I went out on the road a lot. And I learned a lot from the people I talked to. What's on your mind? What would you like to see different? And so I think that's just an advantage to the candidates. And but it wouldn't be the end of the world one way or the other, and so I just want to say that. But it is another form of getting information on how well people view us and what we're doing. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Doug.
Go ahead, Neil.
Neil Halloran. Same comment as before, really. I think it makes sense to have 2 years instead of 4 years. The one big advantage is that every 2 years, the voters in the town really can change the majority of the board. There's always two town board members and a supervisor, which means the majority of them could be changed if things were that bad. I don't know that they've ever been that bad. They haven't been that bad since I've known it. But there was a time we had that, almost that bad, whenever in the village. We had a really strange mayor there one time. That was really shook things up, and I think he was a one-term mayor since I've been here. I think that's accurate. So I think yes, it could happen. Yes, I think it and that is not a reflection of you, Joe, at all. It's a reflection.
I don't take it personally.
Okay, good. I hope you don't. And then let's just talk about the town highway superintendent. There are two departments in this town that spend a lot of money, and rightfully so. I'm not saying they shouldn't. They are. It's the town highway department and the town police department. They're here 24 hours a day in many cases, so they are the two big budgets and they are the two big expense lines. So I think that having the town highway superintendent responsive to the public makes sense. He can spend a heck of a lot of our money and wasted a lot of our money if that went that way. And he cannot be recalled by you. It's not that you have any control over him. He is elected, so you cannot say, all right, we don't like the way you're doing it, you're out. It is only by election, and therefore I think every 2 years, I think the public should be able to say, yes, we think you're doing a good job and keep on going. Otherwise, there's no other way to get him out of there for possibly 2 or 3 years after we think damage is done or if we think damage is done. So for that reason, I think that the highway superintendent needs to be there, and same thing. Okay, thank you very much.
I will clarify one thing, Neil. He doesn't have full control. The board does his budget. The board controls his budget. He has full control over when he comes to work, when he doesn't want to come to work, and running the people down there, but he doesn't have no control over any money.
No, I was aware of that. Okay, and I do know that in the past, we had one highway superintendent who, if we were lucky, he showed up 8 hours a week.
I got that.
and I think that happened for 4 or 8 years or whatever. It was terrible.
Yeah,
thank you.
For us, it looks, it's a thankless job that nobody wants to do. It's an unfortunate situation. I mean, it probably should be a DPW and a non-elected position. It really should, but we're not there.
I don't think I disagree with that comment, but yeah. All right, thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak?
Marie Hartman, Town of Goshen. I just want to say I'm not in favor of a 4-year extension. I'd rather you keep it at 2. Nothing to do with your illustrious behaviors on the board. I just think it keeps you cleaner, it keeps you motivated, and it creates stagnation. And if somebody's really horrific, which again, we're not talking about you, we have the choice to bounce them out. 4 years is just too long sometimes for some important matters.
Understood. Thank you.
Wendy Morrell, resident of Goshen. I will be voting against this law, number 1 and 3, and 2, I guess. I think that if the residents are displeased with the job that the supervisor and the people that are running the town, you know, we have that right to vote them in or vote them out every 2 years. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak? No? Well, I think we have quite a few people that are not in favor of it, clearly. I think that what I'd like to do is just keep both public hearings open for the outside public to write in for the next 30 days. What's the problem, Chris?
Come on, you have this and then you vote.
What's that?
Have the vote.
Okay, fine. No
We're here to hear it. Who's going to say yes to this?
What's that?
Who's going to say yes to disenfranchising the voter? That's what I'd like to know. All right. It's like,
There's no vote.
there's no vote on it.
There's no vote.
There's no vote on it tonight. It's closing the public hearing, then it comes next. I'm leaving it open for other people to comment. You don't
My
want-
understanding is you close the public hearing, then you have a vote to put it on referendum.
Nope.
This is what you've done before with public hearings.
No vote tonight, just closing the public hearing, then it comes back up. So I'll leave it up to you. Would you like the rest of the people to speak, or, because I'll gladly close the public hearing if you would like that.
Mr. Supervisor, you did
No,
make
no,
the
no,
point.
you just shook your head like,
Mr. Supervisor, you made the point that over 300 people voted yes for that referendum last time around.
correct,
And not one of them came tonight to speak in behalf of their feelings.
okay? So I'll close it. You want me to close it? I just assumed that we would leave it open for other people that may want to speak about it. Clearly, we'll leave it up to you.
I'd say close the public hearing, let's get it on.
Very good. All right, can I get a motion to close both public hearings?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You're gonna say I did.
I'm sorry, what?
All
First
in
I-
favor?
What's that?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, we did.
I didn't hear it.
Yeah, close it. First item on the agenda for discussion, public scoping session, IWS Transfer Station of New York, Inc., Town of Goshen Town Board, as lead agency, is reviewing the application for solid waste management facility operating permit and construction permit pursuant to Town Code, Chapter 80B from IWS Transfer Station of New York. I have a motion to open the public scoping session for IWS Transfer Station. So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Would IWS like to open it up?
How are you gonna?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, on the public scoping session.
Yeah.
You got it on your computer, I can barely see it, so if you can read it before we start, I apologize. Got to print it out.
Yeah, that's part. No, it's upside down.
Dylan, can you put a camera so that this can be on?
Do we want to?
Oh, sure, that's cool.
He's gonna, what he'll do is he'll come over and move the camera, so you just leave that right like that, and then he'll come over and move the camera so the public can see it.
Or soften easels if you want.
Got it?
Oh, that works. We see one.
Well, you want me to read, while they're setting up?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, general statement that we are here tonight with the applicant.
Thank you, thank you.
Then the town board can listen to your comments. The public scoping session is not a question and answer session, rather a forum for the public to raise issues and concerns that you believe the town board should consider making its decision on this project.
Phil, can you see that?
We are,
Me? No, it's okay. I have it right
You got it
here,
on?
And I got it on my laptop. I mean, my
Yeah.
all
iPad.
right, that's all.
Thank you.
Is this position good for everybody?
Yeah, but you're probably, is that
I think Dylan has it, he told me, I told
Is it
him.
above my head, right?
right, last time.
Okay, you're looking over. All right, I'm just gonna finish reading this. We are sure that many of you wish to speak. In order to hear from you in an orderly fashion, set the following attempt at ground rules. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand or go up to the podium in a fashion that's satisfactory. Everybody seems to do that. After you're recognized, please come stand before, state your name before speaking so your remarks may be heard and noted. The proper record can be made by the clerk. But beyond that, it's just more of a clarifying that it's not a question and answer session. It's just some statements to be incorporated into the scoping document for further consideration.
And it's 3 minutes, right, Cory?
Yes, 3 minutes.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure the public in general knows what's.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a quick way to summarize it,
I
it's
don't know.
I don't, it's a document that guides the, sorry. Ultimately, it's instructions that identify potential environmental concerns that are intended to guide the planning board and the applicant on the necessities to complete the project that satisfy, I guess, the environmental EAF and secret process. But I probably made it more complicated. I don't know how to, I actually don't even.
It's got, I would say it's kind of an index or a table of contents for what
Yeah.
needs to be studied
Wow, you should have just said that. You know, I gave it. No, it's a checklist, so to speak.
Thank you, that was helpful.
I got it after I had, thanks. Floor is yours.
Kristen?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like,
And, yeah, go-
Just
Yeah,
a name,
so
name
we're-
for the
we're-
public, just a name for the public.
oh, my name's Kristen Thornell from Cornerstone Environmental Engineering.
Jay Dunham, Vice President of Interstate Waste.
So we're here to get an ADB permit from the town board. It's a condition of the site plan approval that we received for the addition of a building modification for the existing transfer station. We're looking to get a permit to accept 670 tons of MSW and C&D at this existing transfer station. We've got a submittal into the New York State DEC for a permit renewal modification to meet the current New York State DEC regulations to, so that all the operations are done inside the building. That's essentially what we're doing. There's no other changes to the operations. There's an existing scale that will remain in place. One thing that the significant improvement will be that all operations will be conducted indoors. There's a loadout tunnel that will be installed, that will have a tarping rack, a scale, so that once the transfer trailers are loaded, they will be tarped and will be able to leave. Right now, that doesn't happen because there's no loadout tunnel scale or a tarping rack, so there's a lot of additional maneuvering that will be eliminated,
Yeah,
right?
so, yeah, again, it's an older facility, obviously, state requirements, they require these enhancements. So again, these upgrades are to meet state specifications, to enable us to operate a safer, cleaner operation. So again, she mentioned that there's only one scale. One scale is used now to scale in and out every vehicle that comes in and out of that facility. With these enhancements, not only are we doing all of our operations in an enclosed environment, but we're able to load and scale out in that environment as well, which we don't have the ability to do today. Again, as far as the permit piece, we're currently permitted to do 600 tons of MSW and 70 tons of recycling per day. We built a state-of-the-art facility, recycling facility down in North Arlington, New Jersey, which all of the recycling goes to now. So we want to convert the 70 tons into the MSW. Obviously,
And C&D.
And C&D, yes. Obviously, there's no change to the volume that we're handling currently or the amount of traffic that's going in and out of this facility. I think that sums it up, but probably as best as I can.
Shall we talk or not?
Public comment?
Yes,
Could you get up to the mic, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we have Interstate West.
Your name.
Name,
Oh,
please.
sorry. Cheryl Murphy, Goshen, New York, or 9 Spruce Hill Lane. So we have Interstate West.
Waste.
Waste.
Yes,
excuse me,
yes, that's all right.
So is this in Chester?
No, this is in Goshen.
Goshen on Hartland
This is in
Road.
Goshen. The hauling division is in Chester.
Okay.
Okay, this is a transfer station. All right, so this is where trucks come to offload. We transfer that volume to send it out.
Okay.
Okay? That's what this is, that's the purpose of this facility.
Okay.
And it's currently there. We're upgrading the facility to meet state requirements.
Okay, so now let's go to recycling.
Okay.
So we're no longer able to put bottles in our recycling.
I'm
We
just
have
gonna
to-
remind everybody, it's not a question and answer session. It's
Oh.
limited to the scoping document.
You
and
could, yeah, to the
I'm not
document.
trying- I
excuse
don't
me.
mean that to be rude or to
No,
allocate your.
pardon me, sorry.
That's fine. It's
Never
just-
mind.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
We'll have an opportunity to address this at the planning board, because all they're here tonight is to just start the process The seeker's being done at the planning board.
No, don't be
It's
sorry.
no problem, it's no.
No, don't worry.
Okay,
No
bye.
problem. I'll talk to you after.
Don't be sorry.
No, I did not want to.
No, thanks.
I'm sorry, what?
I didn't know.
You did it. No, I'm just kidding. All right.
Excuse me, if I could ask the people who have the stand up to move closer to the podium, just so they can see the gentleman on the left.
I'm sorry, what?
Move the stand closer to the podium.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Trying to get everybody in.
Good?
Neil?
The scoping for the planet, for the town board, right, not the planning board?
Yeah, the scoping documents for the town board, and I think,
Yeah.
go ahead, Neil.
No, because somebody just said it was for the planning board, I thought.
No.
No, it's going-
I said, if you want to comment on things, they're in front of the planning board, won't there be a public hearing?
I don't think the planning board has it now, I think it's yours.
Did you close seeker and everything else at the
I
planning
think
board
we're
level?
done, you're doing seeker now for this,
Right.
for your ADB.
Yeah,
I think the planning board is
yeah,
done.
all right, yeah, this is all before the board, the town board, goes back to the ERB. Yes.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is all for the
It's
I
a
ADB.
remember
scoping
Kelly's-
document, but I thought their application was still open in front of the planning board.
No, we got approval, we did get
Okay,
approval.
very good, my mistake, I
Yeah,
apologize.
no worries.
Yeah.
Excuse me, sir. I just wanted to confirm something you said. Do I have to get up?
Just stand that way.
Okay. Before you said the 670 tons does not change, or it does change? I just didn't hear what you said. You said it doesn't change the amount going in or out?
No.
No, it doesn't change the amount going.
None. Okay, just didn't hear that point.
So,
Thank you.
I just want to make a couple comments, that's all,
Go ahead.
just briefly. First of all, the scoping document. What it says is this action, there are actions that may have significant adverse impacts in at least the following areas. So in the scoping document, it brings out a number, tremendous amount of areas that they have to correct or answer. And that's part of the scoping document to us. That's what we're looking at now. Or at least that's what I looked at through all these documents. Unfortunately, I just got it this afternoon, and I had to read it all, I think 13 pages. However, we'll have a lot more questions to go on this. And the other thing you had just mentioned, that you have a permit for 670 tons of waste, but that's not from the town board. It's from, are you telling me it's from the DEC, but not the town board? You have no permit from the town board for that much waste. In addition to that, I know you're asking to get the 70 tons of recyclables and convert that to C&D waste and waste. And that one I voiced my opinion a year, 2, 3 years ago already, when this whole process started. So, but I just want everyone to understand what the scoping document is. Now, you were waiting for comments from the DEC because you had requested the 670 tons also from the DEC permission to do that. Have you received that yet?
No, we made this, we are permitted by the DEC to take 600 tons of MSW and C&D plus 70 tons of recycling.
Right, but not by us. Go ahead.
We requested in the permit renewal / modification to the
Right.
DEC to convert that 70 tons.
Right, and you asked a long time ago, are you saying that you haven't received a response from them yet, or?
No, but we made a timely submittal, we're working under SAPA, so we are just waiting for the DEC to get back to us.
I know, well, we talked about this quite a while ago, and I know you've been waiting a while, and so
Yes.
will we. We're interested to see what the DEC
Yeah,
has to
and
say.
we are too.
Because they may limit you to 400 tons, and then this whole thing may have to change again. So, okay, I just wanted to clarify it for the general public as to what we're looking at here.
I'm confused, you already have a 360 for 306, for 600.
Oh, yeah, oh, absolutely,
So
yes.
what are you waiting on, Phil asked the question, what are you waiting on from the DEC relative to that?
They asked for 670
The
tons, no
convert-
recycling.
They asked for a conversion.
The conversion of
right,
70
right.
tons.
But not the
Right.
reduction, they're not
No,
gonna.
no, we're not.
No,
Oh
no,
my
no.
goodness.
Well, you
I just
don't,
wanted to.
No.
you don't know if they're gonna do it or not, because they haven't told you
You
they
know
would
what?
approve.
So,
I would highly doubt they would reduce our tonnage.
Right, right.
yeah.
We have not received a response. We
Right,
know
and
they're
then-
working on it, they're reviewing it.
And then after that, you need our permission to take 670 tons. You need that from the town board. So, because they're not the controlling interest in this particular one. They just tell you what they think that is a fair amount. The board is the one that actually allows you to get this special use permit for how many tons we say, and I'm just one, I've made
Yeah.
600 tons of CND and 70 tons of recyclables. So, anyway, but I just wanted to clarify the scoping document for the general public, so they knew what we were looking at. That's what we're looking at now.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, George.
So, before I would be making a decision on this, I would like to hear what the DEC has to say.
All right.
Now, you guys were here probably, I guess it's almost 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And you said you had your application in
Yeah.
to the DEC, and you're waiting on it.
Yeah.
So the same thing is tonight. All I'm trying to tell you is that the state, I understand the frustration, but I think it's important
Yeah.
for you to get that decision before you try to finalize things with us.
We've and we've
Yeah.
sent
Yeah.
many emails to the permit administrator, and we're working on it, and
So there's no action that's gonna be taken tonight anyway, so it's just a
No.
matter of.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
scope
and we've got a
Right, well, we're-
response
Yeah.
from them. They say, hey, they're reviewing it, right? And
Yeah.
they're going to get back to us. So,
Yeah.
you know, again, and you know how.
Yeah.
that
No, we
state
understand, it's not, this
Yeah.
is not adversarial, you have to understand that.
Yeah.
Just-
No, no,
We
no.
have different
Yeah.
opinions on
Yeah.
what's fair, what's right, and what's good for our town.
So the other thing I just wanted to reiterate, and it's in this document, it's in the document a couple of times. Hartley Road and 17M, a big problem. I mean, 17M is a big problem, as we all know. So I just want to reiterate that that fact is really very important to me, that that issue of the possible turning lanes, whatever mitigation has to be done on the 17M is something that I would hope that you would hone into, because it's a big problem.
It's a real big problem.
well, I will say, the planning board referred this whole project to the DOT, and they never got a response.
That's
I looked at some of the traffic studies and whatnot. You know, there's accidents on 17M, nothing involving IWS, nothing immediately on Hartley Road. I mean, there's accidents on 17M, but it's not associated with IWS.
Yeah, and,
I mean, it's
again,
just a busy
there's
road.
other folks that operate on Hartley Road.
Yeah.
So, you
Yeah,
know, there's
no,
other
I-
companies, there's other truck traffic
Oh, no,
that
I-
is not IWS, so.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
guys come in and out of it.
Yeah.
right?
Well,
That's
sure,
the- That's the
sure,
only
sure.
place that you can
There's
do
a lot
it.
of-
And
So
now,
so do the others.
yeah, and now you're upgrading. So when you upgrade, you're all.
No, we're not,
There's no
we're
increase.
not
We're not
increasing the
increasing.
traffic, we're.
There's no increase in traffic on our end. There's not.
No, I think you're missing my point. You are upgrading your facility. So because you upgrade your facility, you have to come before us and you have to come before the planning board.
Yeah.
Otherwise, everything would be a moot point. What I'm saying to you is, and it's in this document already, is that the 17M Hartley Road is, you know, the turning and stuff is really a problem. And I think that has to be addressed in some way, shape, or form. I think what I hear you saying is, there's other trucks on there and there's other traffic, and we're basically not gonna do anything.
That's not what I said.
Oh,
I
okay.
just made it a point to
I
state there's other truck traffic
Right,
that goes on 17.
I wanna flush it out a little bit to
Yeah,
see what we're
I'll
gonna do.
flush it out.
Yeah.
So,
Correct me,
you know,
correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, all the traffic study and everything was done through your secret process at the planning board. So they looked at the traffic, we know there's an issue there at that corner there. It needs to be mitigated, it needs to be mitigated by a lot of people. What was the decision of the planning board relative to that intersection?
So
I believe that there was no decision. They referred it to the DOT. They did not get a response.
Neil, can you elaborate on that a little bit?
I think that's basically correct. I think there's a big recognition that there's an issue there. I think that nobody's really approached it. When we had Legoland come in, Legoland took the lead on it. And certainly, just simple things like stop bars further from the intersection so that tractor trailers can actually make a right-hand turn would make a whole bunch of sense, and it cost a gallon of paint, I think, and permission from the DOT. I think there's some simple answers to make it work better.
Yeah.
We're not gonna get.
But it was
turning
looked
lanes
at,
with
my point was, it was looked at during seeker at
And
the
it was,
planning
and it
board.
was determined there was an issue, however, the town has no jurisdiction to force the DOT to do something. Though, I think that if the town board said something to the DOT, it'd have a little bit more weight than the planning board. But
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. We've been saying stuff about Cannon Hill Drive and everything else, and they can't seem to get anybody to do anything at the DOT, unfortunately.
So that's the same
Okay.
thing that we've run.
George, did that answer your question? I didn't mean to cut you
Yeah,
off.
I mean,
Yeah.
I guess the reason why I'm mounting it again is that it's in this document, that it's an issue that the 17M Hartley Road is a problem. And we all know that it's a problem, and maybe it's just mitigation has to be done, simple types of stuff like Neil is suggesting, or maybe we can,
Yeah.
maybe the town can work together to get a turning lane or to get some other mitigation so that, I mean, it helps your business, I believe, because the trucks are having easier access and exit out of the facility. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to
Well, it does talk about mitigation on this particular thing, because it says widening and/or striping Hartley Road or the area within the New York State DOT right-of-way at the intersection, if it is determined to be too narrow to accommodate project volume and type of traffic. Input from the DOT and/or Town of Goshen Highway Department should be provided on conceptual agreement and any proposed mitigation. So apparently, it's noted that there needs to be some mitigation, what George was saying, and I know that's a dangerous intersection, it just is. And we don't know, there were no conclusive answers here, and we're just asking, because it does go on and say that you'll get some analysis and so on and so forth. I don't know if you've gotten that or not.
We're working on it.
You're working on it.
Yes.
So George, what you're saying is a very valid point. It's extremely important because we know how dangerous it is. And that's the point you were just making.
Correct.
And that's the point that I will make too. Thank you.
And
Okay.
Can I just chime in on
Yeah.
part two of the, or bullet point two on the mitigation? I know that it was alluded to, the planning board might have sent a letter. I'll either replicate something similar or send the first draft of
Right.
something to the DOT.
Okay.
Just so it's
Very good.
marked, but,
Okay, good.
and also
Anything else,
ask for
George?
the.
Rick, anything? Les?
I'm good.
I'm good too. Anybody, anything more? I'm
Had
sorry.
a comment? Thank you. My name's Chris Healy, for anyone who forgot. I'm Town of Goshen resident. I'm also a sitting member of the Environmental Review Board. We have spent a considerable amount of time on this project, and I would like to say that improvements are always good. I have said that the problems, there are issues with this site because, as you said, Jake, it's an older site, and I don't think that those problems are necessarily anyone's fault. It is the nature of the business.
Right.
That said, we live in this town and we need to protect our environment. Councilman Cantorino and Lyons make some excellent points once again, and I would like to just follow up with on Councilman Lyons' comment. Technology, as it evolves, we have different machines over time. That is to say, the garbage trucks that you were using 20 years ago were different today. At our ERB meeting, we talked about the use of lowboys to haul out. Is that still going to be done?
Yes. So those are rail cans. So they're loaded on a low boy. We've been doing that now, I would say a little over, probably 2.5 years out of this facility.
Now, the lowboy, for my understanding, and I don't believe I've seen one at your facility, but this is a very long tractor where the bed is much lower, and then there's a gooseneck that goes up to the tractor.
Yeah, the bed is lower.
Okay, we get a lot more on it, that's all great. But following up on Councilman Lyons' concern about roadways, et cetera, we had talked at the ERB about the possibility of your entrance maybe being too small. Might be better if it was wider. This way, the truck drivers.
It's good to
Okay,
widen.
problems. We're solving problems tonight.
I'm
This
sorry,
is
yeah,
that's part of
this is
excuse me,
great.
I'm
That's part
sorry,
of
I don't want to interrupt. We have not received the ERB report, so they haven't seen it. So we're going to adjourn this till May 8th so that the town board can get the ERB report that you're talking about.
And
first.
additional comments.
Sorry.
Oh, thank you. Well,
Just so that they know
just to finish my comment, and Councilman Lyons may be interested to know that they are talking about changing the actual trucks that are coming into and out of the facility, which will impact Hartley Road and most importantly, that intersection of Hartley and 17M. I do believe Mr. Lyons is being kind when he says it's a problem. There are times it's absolutely dangerous. The inside corner of that road, making the right onto 17M, there was a ditch in there this winter. That thing had to be a good 18 inches deep. A truck coming on there, if it's improperly loaded, you really could have a problem with that going over. Again, we live in this town and we're looking out. I'd like to thank all the councilmen on the board for looking out for the town. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Mark Buckeye, just two fast questions. How many tons does your garbage truck that picks up the garbage carry? Hauler.
You're talking on the hauling side?
Yeah, what it brings it.
Residential?
Tipping vehicles, right?
Yeah, residential, so anywhere between 6 to 10 tons.
6 to 10 tons. So,
Right.
so that's so we're talking about 100 trucks a day, give or take, on average, something like that, with 670 tons, give or take. Just not good at math. Okay, where is the garbage coming from?
Where is it coming from?
Yes.
So you got it coming from our facility, right? So all of our Orange County, so you may as well just say all Orange
Pretty much
County.
Orange County.
It's all
Pretty much Orange County.
It's Orange County.
Out to Newburgh, up to Deer Park,
Correct.
down to Warwick. Okay.
Correct. Yes.
So this is your facility, your transfer station for Orange County.
Correct.
It's about 100 trucks a day, give or take. And then how many tons does the truck that hauls it out carry?
20.
20. So there, Phil, correct me, you're about 34, 35 trucks a day.
That's about right.
100 in, 34, 35 out. Beautiful,
That's
thank
right. You got it.
And just for my edification, where does that go?
That goes, so that gets trucked down to Jersey City, gets put on a train, and ends up in Ohio.
Good place for it.
All right?
Hopefully nobody from Ohio will run the way out there.
Yeah.
But also to add to that, your recycling goes down to your recycling facility.
That's correct.
You also pick up from the county and do the same thing for the county,
That is
correct?
correct. That is correct. And we also, that also gets trucked down to Jersey City, and goes on a train.
Neil?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I need to say.
I apologize. The ERB minutes should have been to you from Grace, but I will try to follow up on that tomorrow. We started covered that a while back, and it was about, we spent about 2 hours on it. I think in terms of the DEC, in general, most things are coordinated reviews, in which case the DEC will probably not issue a permit until after seeker is done. So until this town board completes seeker, DEC will probably not issue a permit. That's the way it usually is done. I would expect the same thing. I think that was, we're going to be waiting until that's done before. Because then the way, if you complete seeker, they can get the permit, and then you can give your permit. Is the way it should be done, I think. Okay.
I'll follow up with the DEC tomorrow. I'll put
All right.
an email into Kelly tomorrow.
I think that Phil and George are probably correct. With the permitted amount from the town was about 300 tons a day. They did get an increase from the DEC. We have not done that.
That's right.
So I think when you really start looking at what the impacts are, the difference between what you permitted in the past and what you permit are being asked to permit, I think you have to look at that. If you do look at some of this stuff, if you got it today only, it's about 3 inches thick, all the information they have. And so even there, when they talk about going from 600 tons up to 670 tons, they indicate there's additional tipping trucks and also additional transfer trucks. So you have to look at that. So you're looking at it in terms of 600 to 670, that's one thing. But if you're looking at it from 300 up to 670, that's another answer. There wasn't the IWS acts, and they're not a disproportionate amount. I did see at least one IWS truck get hit or hit somebody on 17M one time. Actually, it was one of these rail trucks. It was on the way in.
On 17?
On 17M, no.
On 17M?
Yeah, right at the stupid traffic light. When you get up to Hartley Road in the afternoon, you come up over that hump and you can't see the traffic stopped at the traffic light.
So it was going up the hill?
It was going up the hill. It was coming into your facility, not leaving your facility.
Well, so it wasn't at the corner.
No.
I know that there was an accident down further on 17M as you come up the hill.
Yeah, but it was
where
right up the-
somebody stopped to make a left-hand turn,
Yeah.
and there was a collision there.
Yeah.
But that wasn't anywhere near the traffic light.
No, it had nothing to do with the intersection itself. It had to do with the fact that the traffic light was there and traffic was backed up or whatever.
I believe the guy was making a left-hand turn there.
I think it was total chaos. I mean, it's always bad there. I think that when we talk about the possible impacts or doing work off-site or at that intersection, it's possible all the work can be done by somebody, or there's also, that we're looking at the whole thing in terms of proportional impacts. So that you may have to, that somebody may have to contribute 50,000 or 100,000, and somebody like RDM or whatever, where they're proposing this huge warehouse, might have to contribute 2.5 million or whatever. I'm throwing numbers up, they're not good numbers, so don't count them. Okay, they're just proportional. I'm saying not everybody has to contribute the whole thing all the time. And there was another issue. Obviously, the ERB had concerns about a number of things, or a number of questions really, including these trucks, because we couldn't quite figure out the old transfer trucks that you have versus these railroad, whether you have more transfer trucks with the railroad or less.
So, you have the same, right?
Because they both carry the same amount going out?
Yeah, because
Okay.
those aren't heavy. We didn't run heavy loads out of there. So those tippers were not. You couldn't run any more than 80,000 pounds.
Okay,
Right?
I wasn't sure. So
yeah.
certainly it looks like a much smaller
It looks
amount.
different, they're taller.
They're taller.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
Well,
they're
weight,
taller.
they're the same.
Okay, all right,
Weight-wise,
good.
they're-
And then volume-wise, they're the
Weight-wise,
same.
weight-wise, they're the
Yes.
same.
Okay, the other concern.
It's actually, and let me,
Go ahead.
because it's a low boy, okay, it's actually safer,
Mm-hmm.
all right? Because when you're running a 53-foot tipper, your turn radius is much, much greater, okay, than a low boy who has a much better, sharper turn radius. So,
No, I think the low boys may be the great thing, because the other thing is, you load them on the railroad, and that saves a lot of energy and everything else going out to Ohio.
but I mean, just the trucks hauling them,
Yeah.
you got a better turn radius there, so it's, a much better.
And I think there are one or two other locations listed for where you possibly send material to. I know it's basically a facility in Ohio, but,
Yeah, so the tippers we used to send out to Pennsylvania.
okay, because I think it's still listed in your.
It's going to still be listed.
Yeah.
It'll always be
Yeah.
listed.
Yeah. You
If a
can't just
train-
go to one place. You
Yeah.
have to have a
Right.
backup.
Yeah.
Okay.
If-
So anyhow, I just wanted, for the sake of the town board, it's not only going to Ohio. That's why we have the right-hand turns going out, and I think most of your low boys that make left-hand turns are going otherwise. So,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask.
Time's up.
The,
And he was asking questions.
You're-
We
you're-
said
you're-
no
you're-
questions.
She only wronged you.
Was that,
No questions.
That's right.
Hey, that,
you just lost
Neil.
my vote.
Neil,
Come on, I don't want
Neil,
this
that
job.
bell didn't go off for anybody else. That bell didn't go off for anybody else.
The only other-
no, I was just gonna say, all the low boys then, when they get to Hartley, when they get to 17M, they're making the left.
Left, going down
Right,
to
go to
Jersey.
Jersey. Yep, down to Jersey.
Yeah, the other trucks are going right there.
Yeah, if we ever have to run a tipper out of there, which, listen, I'm not gonna say, hey, a train, if there's an issue with the train, which, very rare, then you would go out to Keystone. But that's the only time. Otherwise, everything is going down to Jersey City.
Do we have any comments to add to his scope?
Yes, I think the other thing is on leaching. I think the concern there.
Questions, comments?
I think it's a part of the scoping document, or should be added to the scoping documents, but what happens to the leachate from the site? Some of it's gonna be collected from the tipping floor, whatever, but when we have the entire parking area that runs to a storm drain that has really no place to go except just flow off site, I think that has to be addressed.
Is that in your ERB document?
That was in the ERB document, it was also in that notice of violation, whatever, from the EPA. So I think that just needs to be considered and solved,
So
really.
everybody will have that tomorrow, or the board will have that tomorrow.
Right. Thank you very much.
So, Joe, just make sure to add the written comments part to May 7th.
Yep. Okay. Anybody else like to speak? Right. Can I get a motion to adjourn the public scoping for IWS transfer station to May 8th?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Right, very good.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. A note that written comments will be accepted till May 7th.
Yep.
Send them
I
to Mary.
apologize.
5 PM, May 7th.
You're whispering, I don't have it here.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm trying to hand it to you, but do it.
All right, listen, that's what you're here for.
All right.
Next item on the agenda is a special permit initial presentation of Hartley Road Battery Energy Storage System, BESS 114 Hartley Road.
Hello, my name is Terrence Nolan. I'm with New Leaf Energy. I appreciate the opportunity to make an initial presentation for a proposed battery project at 114 Hartley Road. I'm here with Travis Rosenkrantz from Creighton Manning and my colleague Zach Longo, and then also Paul Rogers, who is a safety and fire expert with a firm called ESRG. And so we're at the very beginning of a process and then reaching out to make a presentation to describe the project. We thought we'd come and if there's questions that the board has, answer those. So again, Terrence Nolan from New Leaf Energy. I'll turn it over to Travis, who can just describe a little bit about the project.
Yeah,
you're getting the hand raised.
I got it. You see? Okay, I don't know if you need to see it. George moved over, so if you want to scoot over.
Is it the same as on my, as the document that you gave us? You're going to explain the document that you sent to us, right? Okay.
Yes, sorry, I'm trying to position
It's okay, I
myself
got
so
the
on camera
document on my
and so you guys can see. Again, my name is Travis Rosenkrantz. I'm a project manager with Creighton Manning, who's representing New Leaf Energy as the civil engineer of record. What you're looking at today is, I think my voice is loud enough, but what you're looking at today are just 2 sample plans that have been submitted to the town planning board as an initial site plan application. Part of that application is we need site plan approval and then a special permit from the town board. So really what we're here tonight is, as Terrence mentioned, is just to give a high-level summary, go over a couple of goals and establish some rapport with you guys and to let you answer some questions and then move on. But really what we have is we have a dual 5 megawatt AC battery energy storage system that is proposed on 114 Hartley Road. That's the current operating site of TAM Enterprises. The site is primarily, I'll say disturbed, active, either with gravel or existing pavement that serves as access to the existing construction buildings, storage shed, and there's also a building out this way. Where we are proposing the actual system is here in the northwest corner on existing pavement, existing gravel. There is no tree clearing. There's no, I guess the only disturbance that we have is really grading for the pad to install the pad itself. So all access will be provided from the existing entrance onto Hartley Road. So really what's being described in the project narrative is we have improvements noted, but internally there's not any necessary improvements warranted to provide fire access. So we will continue to have access around up to the gated, fenced-in battery energy storage site. It's important to note at the time we're not offering or going for any variances, because it is a permitted use within the current commercial district and also within the recently established battery overlay district. Another important thing to note is this particular area, this parcel, is immediately adjacent to the O&R substation that I think we capture right here. So it's a pretty easy connection to that existing substation. The parcel has also been identified as a priority site of O&R for battery energy storage. So we're getting pretty much positive feedback from them and then also obviously the landowner. It's important to note that to the north, that parcel is owned by O&R, and it's also a permanent conservation, or it's deeded as a permanent conservation easement. The nearest resident is 700 feet away. There's no
no opportunity to see it unless you are specifically looking for it at this point on the Orange Heritage Trail. The parcel does border the Orange Heritage Trail, and as I mentioned, we are retaining all trees, all vegetation, and we're advancing. We've been to one planning board meeting. We're advancing our submission application, addressing their comments concurrently with this discussion. So that's a high-level summary. We're not impacting wetlands. We're not impacting stream buffers, stream overlay, corridor. It's in my opinion, a pretty good site. So really, having mentioned all that, we do have, as Terrence mentioned, we do have an expert here to talk about any of the safety concerns, any of the fire concerns, because we are aware of the community and the voices of recent issues. It is important to note, any battery storage unit that is proposed for this site will be compliant with all applicable codes. I'm not going to regurgitate which ones those are, but that is something that is a process and a requirement for these units to be permitted and installed.
Just add two things. One, just to give you a sense of what these do on the grid, and we have interconnection studies that are currently underway with Orange and Rockland, but these are really on standby for a period of time over the summer months when the demand or the load in the area is at such a degree that these can then kick on and offset and provide that power, that local power, as opposed to what are known as peaker plants, which are sort of older fuel-based, typically oil fuel-based, but in any event, these are plants that are much larger and inefficient, that are held back for those time periods. So this is in lieu of that, turning those on essentially and burning a dirtier fuel. They would charge at night, these batteries, and they would then discharge primarily during the summer months. And then the other piece I was going to add is that in addition to the codes that the batteries will comply with, we have Paul Rogers from ESRG. He was on ESRG was involved in creating recommendations to the Uniform Fire Code to address these particular these types of batteries, and all of the recommendations which have not yet been codified in the formal adoption of the fire code will be integrating those in this design in advance. So I think I'll stop right now and just see if there are questions, and of course make our experts available for any questions that come up.
Bill?
I was concerned about the fire and how you would handle that, because I know there is a risk of these things catching on fire. And do we have enough skilled fire people or equipment in order to take care of these fires? Because I think it requires not water, a special whatever you have to do. So are we equipped for that?
If you don't mind, so I worked in the New York City Fire Department, where I was in hazardous material unit as a lieutenant, and worked on these battery energy storage systems in New York City starting in 2013. Before leaving, writing the code that's currently in New York City, one of my concerns was whether the fire department could actually manage the incident. Right. And that was our big concern on that end. And today I can say we know that we can manage the incident, and I feel very confident that any fire department can manage the incident. It is going to be it's going to be compartmentalized. What I mean by that is you're going to see containers. And so one of the things that the code has inside of it is that they got to make sure that they do testing on each container, and that container has to prove and validate through destructive testing that system or that event will not propagate or spread to the adjoining containers. And that was a big thing, and first of its kind within the fire industry itself. And that was something that we demanded in New York City, and that actually went around the country and is now part of the state code. So it was a big thing at that end. And what we're doing even in New York City, and currently they're doing in New York City, is they're taking a defensive approach. Can they use water? The answer, yeah, they can use water, but it may not be effective because the systems themselves are actually watertight to try to keep the water out, because it's going to be outside.
Right.
So we need to keep the rain out. So it's a double-edged sword in some ways.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing I was concerned is, do we have the equipment to handle that? I know you're proactive in avoiding any incidents, but if an incident should happen, do we have to get special equipment? Do our fire companies have to get special equipment in order to handle this type of possible catastrophe? I don't know.
Yeah.
Or can it be done just with what we have right now?
Yeah, there's no special equipment that we have gotten, and no special equipment that we recommend, as long as they have their SCBA, which is a self-contained breathing apparatus, which every fire department should have, and regular structural fire gear. They should be totally fine with that to protect themselves from that. And then
any experience as far as these batteries catching fire and how the outcome was? I mean,
yes.
Is there any data that they can give us to reassure us that we're not going to have this huge fire up there?
Yeah, so we, a couple of things. Number one, we have a testing facility where we actually do destructive burning out in Ohio. So we do look at the characteristics when they are actually burning. And one of the things is we actually hire firefighters to actually be our safety people on that end.
So you do have the data. Okay.
So but what we're looking at is to make sure that this thing again doesn't go beyond where it needs to be.
Yeah, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yeah, but again, in New York State, yeah, in New York State, it's a test put out by Underwriters Laboratory. It's called UL 9540A, and it's a destructive test that has to show, again, validate that if there is an event that takes place. First of all, let me explain. In that test, they actually try to simulate a reasonable worst-case scenario event.
Right.
And that worst-case scenario is duplicated inside a laboratory done by a national recognized testing laboratory with credibility, and then they have to validate. And there is data that's actually grabbed during that test. That data would be made available to the local code official for review. And if you took a look at some of the recommendations, we looked at that ourselves, and there is the code reviewer here has the option, no longer has the option, it's mandatory that they have a peer review person to come in to give them a second opinion paid for by the developer. And that's in every project in New York State.
It's paid for by the developer.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So cutting to the chase here.
Yes.
In other words, what you're saying is that the firemen have their protective gear.
Yes.
They put water on it.
Yes.
There's no other chemical or anything that they have to put on it, like Phil was suggesting.
No.
It's a watertight battery.
Yeah. So as I said, water is a double-edged sword, right? As far as it, and there's nothing that we've seen. As a matter of fact, a lot of people call us to endorse their products. We will not do it because we haven't seen the data to actually prove it. So we haven't seen that. We did some work down in the New York City Fire Academy to make sure that if we did get the water on the inside and get into it, would we get electrical leakage? And that's a whole report that we can show you. But we don't even want the firefighters getting even that close. There's no reason for them to get even that close. This piece of equipment is destroyed as far as we're concerned.
How about explosions?
Yeah, and the code addresses that too. The code has in there that they have to have explosion control to make sure that they.
So these things can explode, is what I'm asking.
Well, that's what the explosion control does. Is it's actually trying to prevent the explosion from actually taking place. A deflagration. They call it deflagration. And it's spelled out in there. You can go look at the code. It's actually in there itself.
Is there any fire suppression in any of the containers that contain the batteries?
So depending on the battery that is purchased, some of them do have a what they call a clean agent, which would be like a Novak 1230 or an FM200. You see them quite frequently in electrical rooms. As a matter of fact, you'll see them. In hospitals, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but in hospitals we already see batteries in every single hospital, every single critical infrastructure in the UPS system. So batteries are already out there. It's just that we have these lithium-ion that are now starting to move away from the lead-acid-based batteries into the lithium-ion batteries, which seems to be just a better response on that end.
And at this particular point, you don't know what you're really gonna put there. You just,
Well,
this is a very general consensus, because you don't know what specific.
You haven't picked a product yet.
What product you're gonna put there yet, so you're telling us, as a
That's right.
general
Yeah,
rule,
that's-
these are the things
yeah.
that will work.
Correct.
But we don't know the specific
So-
product, so.
All of these measures consistent with anything that's out there, any product that you choose,
That's
pretty consistent, you know, relative to the type of battery and the fire retardancy and so on and so forth?
I'm sorry.
Well, there's multiple products out
Sure.
there, multiple manufacturers of ESS systems, and they
Okay.
haven't decided what they're going with. What I'm asking is, the general questions that we're asking you now, are they
Yeah.
consistent in product lines?
Yeah,
All the different
great
products,
question.
right.
Yeah,
We know that-
there's always gonna be a little tweak
Correct.
here and there, but the general regulatory infrastructure for safety, they have to comply with that. Otherwise, they cannot get into the state. So all of that needs to be reviewed
Yeah.
by your code official to make sure that they're complying with that. And the state is actually putting out checklists. We've given a couple of people checklists, like, here's what you're gonna need to do. Because we're sometimes used on the other side, on planning board side, where they'll hire us as their peer review people. So we fortunately work both sides on that, but that has happened for us.
I have a question. How many other BES storage systems are there in Orange County currently?
There's one in Warwick.
There is,
Right.
yeah, there was a fire. Yeah, I live in
Yeah.
Warwick, so I'm familiar with
That's,
that.
that's a lot different than, it's not compartmentalized, it's
Right.
one stack all the way through, so when the fire goes, it just goes all the way through. It's not,
Right.
it doesn't get isolated.
Technology's changing.
Yeah.
No, I was just curious to know how many others there are locally.
I mean, what I can say is that the PSC, the Public Service Commission, approved a proposal to incentivize the installation of these batteries now up to 750 megawatts, essentially in upstate, so north of Orange County and north. And that's a brand new thing. So I think you're gonna start to see this now more often.
Right.
Yeah. But we can look at some examples and in the sense if the board's interested in, you know, knowing the location and there's an ability to see what they look like.
Or just know how long technology has been out there, I guess, is also something I was just interested to know, like how long this technology has been out
Right.
there. Like when solar farms first started and everybody wanted solar and we had 1 million solar projects before the board, and so I was just curious, like, is this is this a new?
So our first project that we did in New York City was back in 2018. Remember, that's when it was actually built and up and running. So there was a whole time for development, planning, and everything like that. So we were looking at it since 2013. It took us a little time, but we wanted to make sure we had it right, and we really didn't have the guidelines at that particular time, but now the regulatory infrastructure is actually pretty good in that sense.
Thank you.
So when you hook up to the poles for the power to go out, is it above ground or underground?
It's connected right to the grid, right? You're connecting to the grid?
Yes, correct.
So it would be underground then?
So we're from the unit, we'll run it underground, I believe, right? Is that our plan, or we haven't actually confirmed that?
The layout is not confirmed yet. It is highly dictated by O&R. But underground is the medium voltage from the units down the property line. And then there's, again, this is a dynamic situation. There's several utility poles here and here in this front part of the parcel.
So you're going into a utility pole, not directly into the substation?
That's correct. We're going to be using the distribution line in front. It becomes more of a challenge because we'd have to be then going straight into a breaker, and what we can do is we can utilize a distribution line that has availability.
So there's one right on the edge of Camp's property right there?
Yes.
I forget, how close is it to the Orange and Rockland facility? I forget.
Borders.
Well, it's right next door.
Right, it's
Yep.
contiguous.
Yep.
I'm gonna twist this just for a second.
Yes, to the left, right there.
That's the substation right there.
Right.
This is the unit.
I should also, just to add to the question of how many, if it's in your mind, I don't anticipate from an incentive perspective that you're going to see as much demand for these types of things as, for example, solar. So they serve a very specific purpose
Right.
for very specific substations. Beyond that, it gets more challenging to finance them.
And you guys need approval, or anybody doing this needs approval from the energy company, whether it be Orange or Rockland, or, so they will tell you whether they see a need for it or not, and if there
Yep.
isn't a need for it, you wouldn't be able to put back into the grid.
Correct.
They identified this as a special, what was the terminology, as a special?
Non-wire alternative. So there was a bid, it's at one point, there was a bid put out by Orange and Rockland, and this site was identified as a priority.
How do the batteries actually charge? You said
They charge from the grid at night, so they're pulling, they look like a user of electricity. So they're just pulling it down, and we're paying for that electricity.
Oh, okay. So this is, I'm trying to, the entrance is the same entrance as you go into TAM?
Exactly. Correct.
So what's the arrangement here? Is this TAM's property and you're leasing it?
Yep, we are leasing from.
Oh, you're leasing?
We are leasing a portion of the TAM property and also a right to access.
Right, you have the two ways, right?
Yep.
The left and the right. And how much, the lease of the property is how many acres?
Oh, not even an acre, right?
So the entire disturbance with grading that goes outside the fence, trying to give you, the fence is this purple line that goes around. We have some grading there just to modify, we're removing some pavement to have an overall reduction in pavement on the site. So that's hovering around an acre for the entire fenced area and grading. So the lease area would be, it's up to Terrence, or New Leafs Energy legal department to identify.
It roughly is the area that's
Of the
shown
fence.
in the, like that oblong shape, and then it includes the access along the existing road, which is their access, so it's not exclusive access.
Decommission, when and if that occurs, that's gonna be part of the approval?
We're advancing through, we've been to one planning board, but that's a typical process. We'll be doing the decommissioning bond, all of that will be submitted in forthcoming submissions, yes.
So I realize you haven't picked your equipment yet, and I have quite a few questions when you do come back to us with that. But relative to the units, the individual units, how are they placed? Are they placed on a concrete slab, or are they on pillars with airflow underneath it?
So there's two different arrangements. One is an entire slab with a slab in between the containers.
Mhm.
Others are, you have two separate slabs with gravel in between the slabs.
So they sit on a solid, they
On a
don't
solid
sit up in the air,
Yeah.
elevated, okay?
They're elevated a little bit, just so you're not getting storm flow or sheet flow onto the unit, and that's some grading around, but generally, you're not seeing a unit 4 or 5 feet up in the air.
But the slab will be up above the ground, right?
Yeah, the slab, yeah. We want a little bit of reveal so that you're not.
Right.
And there, again, depending on the arrangement, sometimes there's a foot of gravel around that pad just to protect the reveal of the edge and
Is there sizing? Is there expansion needed for the future? Do you plan on any expansion? You're gonna need more batteries?
So there's some compartment where additional cells can be stored to come online in the event that the batteries lose efficiency, but it will never be more than 5 megawatts of capacity per battery. That's the limit, and no matter what happens in the future.
So no expansion.
So you're not expanding beyond the 20 megawatts or whatever you're putting in there, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
So will that go in part of the agreement?
That is part of the planning board agreement and the special permit application.
As well as the interconnection agreement
Correct.
with the utility.
And just to clarify, it's 2 5-megawatt, total of 10.
Right. So I have just a question, it's a little confusing, is we talked about road frontage, and generally you need 200 feet of road frontage.
Mm-hmm.
And somewhere along the line, it says that you would have to get a variance from the ERP. And then our building inspector, I guess, went out and looked at it and said it was approved like in 2014, a project. So legally, you may not need a variance, but the attorney's gonna have to determine whether you do or you don't. So I know you said that you don't have to go for a variance, but in here it indicates that it's a possibility.
Yeah, that was a
Because it's
comment
only,
raised.
I'm sorry, it's
Oh, I'm
only
sorry.
17.3.
7.3.
17.3 foot opening rather than the full 200 feet, so I was a little cautious, I'm curious.
Yeah, we're aware of that. That was raised by the planning board's TDE, Sean Hoffman. It is documented that it is a special, or it is a approved non-conforming use, and that was documented in their approval in 2013, and then also their site plan amendment in 2023. So it's really a topic of discussion at this intent, or at this point, we don't propose any modifications, and we would continue to do as a non-conforming, permitted non-conforming.
I'm sure the attorney will look at that, just in case.
Yes, understood.
We need it, so,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, the other thing, and I did know in that review letter, we did not mention a long lengthy summary in our cover letter, but there was also some discussion that we were requested to have with the town board about the existing buffer. Part of the code is you need a 100-foot vegetated buffer. The existing operations of that parcel has over time either removed that buffer or it never had a buffer, but it's existing gravel, it's existing pavement, existing buildings. So we were recommended to discuss that with the board. Not necessarily need a decision tonight, but that's something that we will be looking to discuss in forthcoming conversations, because that is not there, we understand that, but also we don't want to plant 100 feet of trees over a football field. So, I'll get out either way.
You answered the question I didn't ask yet.
But, I mean, to point out, we are bordering that conservation easement,
Yes.
and the nearest resident is 700 feet away.
And the Heritage Trail.
That's down here.
Right.
Yeah, there was a request by the planning board that we do visual simulations of that.
Yeah.
So and now's the time right before the leaves really pop, so we're gonna do that. We're getting photos tomorrow, actually.
Okay. And that's the tree line comes right about to there.
Right.
We're taking those angles of visual sims primarily in this area.
Okay.
And offering those to the board, the planning board, once they're prepared and formalized.
Okay.
There was one other comment I was gonna make, which is just the outreach on to the fire department. So we
Yes.
reached out to Chief Gambuti, but he's also going to organize the 3 fire departments that serve the town to get together. We'll have our experts here.
Yeah.
But also, obviously,
That's
so
important.
that'll be an ongoing dialogue in terms of the question you raised, what do they need?
Yeah.
There's a training obligation on our end.
Yes.
And we'll be
Yeah.
very much involved in that.
Okay, that's good.
If I could ask a question relative to, you said that there are tax incentives that you would be applying for in this.
Yep.
Are there any requirements inside those tax incentives for the product to be BABA compliant or anything relative to Buy America, Build America?
Oh, I see. No, not specifically, although the market trends and the policy trends are pointing in the direction of that anyway. So, yeah, and that's really the reason why we're not at this moment able to determine what the battery will be, because we're sort of looking at this situation and seeing what's gonna make sense. But we're looking at either American manufacturer or say somebody in our hemisphere, Canadian. We're not sure yet.
So 25%,
I don't
get
raise
that
any-
stuff from the
I don't raise any
Canadians.
signals yet. I don't know yet.
25%, don't get it from the Japanese or the Chinese, jeez.
I would say that, obviously we had this conversation,
Yes.
I would say that, I would make sure that, we're following HR 1166 and all the products that are part of that,
Yes.
Homeland Security review.
Yep.
There's a big problem now with Chinese-based software relative to anything connecting to the grid, as we discussed.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a near certainty, if not a certainty, we won't be using any of those batteries, and I appreciate that, you being aware of that through our conversations.
Any other questions?
They're all
I'm good.
lithium-based?
Thank you.
Well, we look forward to, go ahead, George.
They're lithium-based?
I leave it to the direction, I'm
Yeah.
happy, we would definitely answer questions, whatever works for the board here.
I'd like to ask a question.
Go ahead, Jim.
If there is a fire, what kind of emissions that the residents, how would they, what is that? What are the emissions?
Yeah. So I'm glad you asked that question. It gets asked quite frequently at events. So just like any combustible fire, right? There is a report that I can actually give to the town board that was just put out recently that they have now started to align the products of combustion, which means a fire, right? That we can align them with most structural fires that we see at any event. Again, I'm saying products of combustion here, right? Which means that it is burning at that particular time. Hopefully that answers. So it's similar to a structural fire as far as the products of combustion. So it's on fire, and the products that are actually on fire and what's coming off of it is similar to what we see in structural fires.
But not any additional toxicity like chemicals, I think that's what you mean. So
Yeah.
It's not like a wood fire.
Yeah, I can tell you, like even structure fires, like we don't want to go up close and personal into them, but we don't see anything that is different than what we've seen in structure fires. So, what we get from that.
I just have a quick question.
Sure.
You did your presentation before. I lost you in a little bit.
Sure.
So I just want to confirm one thing.
Yeah.
At first it was, water's not really that good for it because it's completely sealed because it's outside, you want to
Yeah.
protect it. So how do you use water to put out the fire on something that's sealed, or are you using some
Yeah.
other version?
Great.
What do you hit this with if it's not water?
Yeah, great question. So what we have seen is, remember I talked about that large-scale fire testing? And one of the things that they do, they have to purposely actually fail the system, right? Which is called large-scale fire testing. Destructive testing, very expensive. People didn't want to do it when we first asked them to do it. And they really complained about it. But basically taking $1 million piece of equipment and saying destroy it, and show us the results of it. And one of the goals is to try to simulate a realistic, worst case, reasonable scenario and see what happens. And we're getting great results on that. We're getting great where the actual fire is not spreading. The goal is to try to make sure that it is not coming out of the box itself, the failure. But what we're seeing is it's not even coming out of the module, which is a group of cells. It's even staying within the module. So the failure is really being confined not only to the box, and all this data will be given to the town code.
Are you telling us it'll put itself out because it's
Yeah.
contained?
So if it were to actually catastrophically fail, right, like what we saw in
Right.
Warwick, then
Right.
there is a defensive strategy that the fire department is going to allow it to consume itself. That's an acceptable practice that we've done. That's what New York City is actually going to do. What's that?
What is it? How do they put that fire out?
Yeah, we're going to let it consume itself.
Okay.
Yeah. Let it burn or consume
So
itself.
there's nothing to
And-
put it out, it just burns the day.
No, so if you were to put water on this thing, what you're doing is you're going to slow down the process. You're going to put it back on. It could go back on fire, reignition. And we've seen this through testing over and over again. So one of the things and the quickest thing to do is just allowing it to consume itself.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was just gonna add, so there's two conversations that need to happen in terms of the publication, education on this. One is, what is the likelihood of it happening, which is important. And then, of course, when you're talking to the fire department, they don't want to be told it's not gonna happen, they wanna know what if it happens, right? So that's why we're always toggling between those two things. And so, I would say there'll be a public hearing connected to the planning board process, like potential zoning board, obviously town board. We're committed to having the conversation and the education about the likelihood, the optics of it, making sure people understand, like as these are deployed, the number of fires has been relatively small, as I understand. So the chances are very low, highly unlikely, but I'm gonna let you say that, I shouldn't say that.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, and I think a lot of people are trying to equate these to the consumer products that we're seeing, where they're having some issues on that end.
No, we're just trying to ask you the question about that product.
Yeah,
Pretty
and
simple.
I thought I answered it pretty.
We're real simple people up here.
Yeah,
I don't know how you're gonna put it out.
you know.
Yeah, as I said, you're
But
probably
it's
gonna allow
self-
it to consume itself
No, yeah.
as a result of that.
So you probably do that because they're contained units, but like out in Warwick, I was at the fire in Warwick. I mean, the firemen were unbelievable. They got it out, they got it contained to one cabinet, all the cabinets are attached. But I would expect here, since they're modules, you let the module burn out, it doesn't affect the other modules. Is that what we're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I meant by consume itself. And in Fire Protection 101, right, you always want to compartmentalize things. And that's exactly what we're doing here, is just keep it within the box itself. And it doesn't spread to the other box. And if it does, if that happened in the large-scale fire testing, then they fail the system and they got to go back and redesign their systems. They're not allowed to get their listing as a result of that. And it can't come into New York State.
Right?
Just one follow-up quick question. So in the worst-case scenario, and the containments don't work, and you have a raging fire that you might have to leave, I just want to know, because you're real close to O&R and you're real close to town, is there any way they could catch fire? Like, do they have chemicals where we could go kaboom, kaboom like a chain? Or no? Well, you can't tell me because you don't know what they have.
I don't know what they have. I really don't know that. But what I can tell you is that the fire or the event, the failure, stays within the box. It cannot come outside the box. It stays in. It's kind of like a fire in this room, not going out into the hallway to other rooms. It stays right here within the actual, what we call the fire area.
Because it's a sealed compartment, correct?
It's concealed, it's a sealed compartment.
Is that the
Yes.
same, is an explosion the same as a fire compartmentalized?
No, they have explosion control to prevent any of that from taking place.
So it would stay compartmentalized if it explodes?
Yes,
No,
yes,
that's what I'm trying to-
they will. They'll stay compartmentalized. But again, they have explosion control, so that should never take place. It shouldn't take place.
Yeah, I know everybody, that's the goal, I'm just wondering.
Sure. Yeah, and the codes address that specifically. There's a line in there that talks about explosion control, so they have to do it. And again, that will be reviewed by the code official.
So, one last question. When O&R put up their transfer station, they got no incentives, as far as I know now, they're full assessed value.
Yeah.
When your project is built, are you going to be looking for incentives? And whatever those incentives are, when all is said and done, is it going to be assessed at full value? Or like we have with the solar farms, there's pilots?
Sounds like the town supervisor, you want to answer.
How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, I suspect we're gonna have a pilot with the
pilot.
town, with the town. So that's, I fully intend, I expect that to be a conversation with the town board.
But there's nothing regulated at the state right now. I tried looking online to see
There
if
is
there's
nothing,
anything,
no.
so it's something that we would have to design and sit down and negotiate.
Yeah, and we do intend to, we do intend to go to the IDA for purposes of the sales tax exemption. And so we can talk about the pilot.
All right, any other questions?
Nope.
So I would.
No.
I mean, I was gonna say, I can offer my contact information to residents who are here who want to get in touch with me.
Residents can email me and I'll forward everything.
Okay.
Have you done a test where you actually produce a fire and put it out?
Yeah, that's a requirement to come into the New York State Code. You have to actually destroy your system and see and collect data as a result of that. So yes, the testing is
When
up.
you have a fire, does it release chemicals into the air, into the soil, into the water?
So there's actually a report out by New York State for the incidents that have taken place. All of that information is readily available that did not show any signs of any soil contamination, any water contamination, and no one was reported to be injured or at any of the events that took place within the state of New York.
I would imagine when you decide what equipment you're using, all the data relative to fire safety and so on, information we would get, correct? I mean,
Yeah,
the manufacturers have probably gone through this intensively.
All of this stuff is online, Supervisor. It's all online. It's the state report is out there.
Well, yeah, so what I'm saying is I know the code from the state's out there and what the requirement is, but I would wonder if any testing is done on each specific product by the manufacturer, and if we could have that information.
That will be part of the submission package.
Thank you. I would say, Terrence, as you move along the process, I know you got a long process in the, you got a process that you have to move along at Seeker. When you decide what your product's gonna be, I would ask that you come back to us as soon as you decide what your product line's gonna be.
They'll need a special use permit, so they'll be back.
Right.
Yeah, we'll be
Yeah,
back.
but I don't wanna wait until they go through the planning board. I'd rather get a lot of my questions asked on the product.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, would you say there's any appointment meeting?
Yes. From right now, from like.
Start the clock down.
Review and authorize the town supervisor to sign the bus operator services contract for Iowa Bus. I mean, we have it here. Laura asked you to take a look at it from a legal perspective and give us a opinion from a legal perspective on.
I touched on this 2 weeks ago. As far as the contract itself, like I don't speak to the money other than what Councilman Campanino. Hey guys, I'm just anyway. I can't speak to the terms. Everything going on in the federal government right now with the disbursement of monies. I would acknowledge that same fact that Phil brought up, and I can't do anything about that. We're like we're last in line on it as far as control, but as from a contract standpoint, I have no issue with the contract. It's a valid contract. It's this for that. It's laid out. I have the appendixes, which I didn't have the last time for whatever reason, and everything points to where it's supposed to go. But I can't speak to federal regulations. I don't see that as a boilerplate contract in many respects. All the other municipalities, not that that's
Well, you signed it or you don't.
I didn't do it. Yeah, you're not going to change it.
You're not going to change it, correct.
So it's just aware of the risk that, again, Phil's pointed out. I don't really know how to address that. I suppose that's been there every time we've signed this, but it's the climate we're in right now that I think.
Well, there was an issue at one time that we were servicing part of Chester, and Chester, when Newhouse was the supervisor, would contribute something like $50,000 toward the operation. And then we negotiated 25, and at one point we said we're not going to pick up anybody in Chester because they didn't want to contribute, and we weren't getting the money from the county. But I agree. This whole thing, all it says is we can do everything, and Goshen, you can't do anything. That's basically what
not
it says.
Not normally a contract I would advise you to sign up for.
No,
but
you wouldn't.
The service is
Right.
invaluable, and we're gonna. I don't know what the alternative
Right.
is.
The only one thing I wanted to ask is if you came upon this, and I didn't see it specifically in this thing, but if they don't get federal funds, and I know that they will apply for federal funds, the county will, but somewhere along the line they may not get them, and they said, if we don't get them, you don't get them.
You don't get them, right.
Now, if we don't get them,
Yeah.
and we don't get them from anyone else, can we terminate this contract with the county? I didn't notice, I thought there was a 90-day clause in there that I think they can terminate us for almost any reason. But I just wasn't sure if we could terminate them. But I mean, we could take our chances and do it. But I'm ready to sign the contract. I understand that we have no rights, so.
I would say they have a due diligence to seek the monies and do it properly.
They do.
If the federal government says no, I don't know what would happen. I can't tell in this contract.
I couldn't tell either.
I feel like it would make it, it would nullify a large portion of it.
I think so.
But I can't answer that question.
Unless the county comes and says, you know what, we will fund you for this portion that the state won't give us to the federal government. I mean, it's only
Well, it would require the county.
$164,000.
They would require the county's the one that the carrier is going to sue to get the money, and then the county would have to, I think, would have.
No, they'll be held harmless.
No,
to
the
get money.
carrier. It says the contract is between the county and Orange first with the carrier.
Right,
Award
with the
that
carrier.
contract, right? So if they can't pay out the contract, then the county would have to come try and get the money from us.
Yeah.
Right, they provide us with the money up front, correct?
Yeah, they
Well,
provide us the money.
cap.
Yeah, what I'm saying is if they
No,
start.
I'm with you. I think there's.
Yeah.
It's not unlike many other contracts with risk. This is just trying to put a price tag on the service. I can't quantify that.
Yeah.
On the
So
28th.
we've signed it in the past.
Yeah.
There's maybe updates to the appendices, but it's not any
Yeah.
different from the contractual relationship. Is designed the same way as it's been.
Right, but right now, with the tenor of the times, as far as grants and money coming from the federal government.
So the risk is
that
understood.
That has changed the whole risk of this thing, you know. But anyway, We've got to provide the service.
I just had a question on this been going on. Is it Michelle that files all the reports?
Yes,
Well, that's-
and Jen, we
Yeah.
do a part of the, we do the report. Michelle gives us information,
data, right.
and we do the report.
And I just want to inform, I'm sure the board has read this, but we have to provide them with someone that is on call 24/7, 365 days a year. So I'm not sure who that designated person is going to be, Joe, but.
It's Broderick.
It's Broderick now.
Okay, but
He's
that's.
on call. He's on call. I don't think he drives the bus, he just picks up the phone and calls the person.
Yeah, of course.
I do have to tell you that this is a concern among supervisors, and on the 28th of this month, there's at least a dozen of us supervisors and mayors getting together in the town of Chester at the town hall to talk about this and talking about regionalizing it amongst the towns up the 17 corridor. But they are all concerned that this is going away, and they realize, you know, I don't know the exact number, but we probably pick up 300-400 people a week, mostly seniors, bringing them to doctors. I just think that knowing the way the government is today and knowing what the cuts that are coming through, we should at least start to look at possibly budgeting something to make sure that we can do this in the future. I don't know, it's just up for discussion.
Yeah, that'll be up for discussion, for sure.
What's that?
That'll be up for discussion.
Yeah.
That all the other taxpayers are gonna have to pay for that. There might be some medical insurances that will pay for some of that transportation, and
Well,
not just
the people,
depend on
the
us.
people that get picked up, I think you pay a part of it.
Yeah, they pay, but they go to work, and we provide transportation for almost everything.
Yeah, the majority of the people that we pick up in Chester and Goshen are mainly seniors going to the doctor, or maybe seniors going to ShopRite. Going to ShopRite's difficult because they can sit there for 2 hours waiting for the return. Doctors are a little bit different, you know, they get dropped off and they know when they're getting their time is up, so.
Yeah.
But listen, it's a critical.
It is.
It's critical for a lot of senior citizens that have no way of getting anywhere without it. So, but I'm assuming that, you know.
Okay.
All right, well, any other questions on it? So can I have a motion to allow the supervisor to sign the bus operator service contract?
So moved.
Second,
All in fit?
Roll call.
Roll call.
Councilmember Cantorino.
Aye.
Councilmember Lyons.
Aye.
Councilmember Florio.
Aye.
Councilmember Gallo. Aye. Supervisor Betcher.
Aye.
Well done.
Say 27.
Yeah. Is it
It's
the
all done, I signed it.
Did you date it?
Dated it, yeah. Okay, next item on the agenda is review police chief post request to hire a full-time police officer. Chief
Chief
sent us
Post
a
is
letter.
here. Chief Post is here, Supervisor.
Yep, I know, I saw him, patiently waiting.
Brought backup.
Brought backup?
Oh, where's the backup?
Oh,
Oh, there it is. There.
So, the chief has provided a memorandum to be prepared to inform you that I'm requesting the backfill the vacancy created by the retirement of one of our sergeants. I'm requesting to add one full-time police officer to the department at a low pay grade, step 1 or 2. I would like to use the remaining budgeted money to start a K-9 unit with one of the already certified police officers. The remaining money will be used to supplement the part-time position. The current department roster consists of 2 full-time sergeants and 6 full-time officers, supplemented by 8 part-time officers. Thank you, Chief Post. You guys get a chance to look at this? Any questions, comments?
Yeah, I not only looked at it, but I had a meeting with the chief as well. And I told him, as I would tell anybody, I prefer part-time police officers. And I prefer part-time police officers because there's much less benefit package that you offer a part-timer. Some of them have it already. And also, if they don't work out, they move on. You just don't continue them on the thing. However, I do understand that Ramsey retired, and therefore, there's I think there was 20 slots that opened up. And I realize that it's hard to get part-time people. So therefore, I'm in favor of hiring the full-time person at whatever the rate is.
$68,983.
Because it's a replacement of a person who did retire. So that's where I stand. But I would like to have an emphasis, as I told the chief, and tell anybody, I would like to continue on. We've had that for years and years and years of part-time police officers. However, from what they're telling me is, and I can understand it, these people who retire from other police jurisdictions, a lot of them don't want to do police work anymore. It's not an easy job. So we go back and forth, and as far as today is concerned, yeah, in my own mind, I approve of the hiring the full-timer at step 1 or step 2.
So keeping in mind, there's some other factors that go into it. We've had a little bit of success in finding some part-timers. We've hired Jason Lewis and John Barton, correct? The issue that you have is you can't mandate part-timers to work, right? Am I correct?
All right, you want me to-
in
you want me to
Yeah,
talk?
no, I'm asking the question, so I want you to elaborate on it. So, you know, if a part-timer is on the A line and somebody on the B line calls in, you can't mandate him to work. He just leaves if he wants to leave. We got good officers and sometimes they'll stay, but they don't have to stay, is my point.
True, I mean, a part-timer can just not show up to work, there's nothing you can do. Part-time police officers, we're lucky enough to have John Barton and Stu Lloyd, who aren't held to a earnings cap, like retired guys are.
Right.
So right now, retired police officers, state police, or DEC, whatever, can only make up to a certain amount every year, or their pension gets affected.
30,000.
So
Case in
35,000.
point, when did we lose Bernie this year?
Last year, we lost him in July. Bernie, we burned him out. He's on track again. We're on track again to lose 2 or 3 of our part-timers. We're working them pretty hard.
And then what happens? Overtime kicks in.
Overtime incurs, you know, God forbid, overtime. We always cover. These guys always come to the head of the class, and they always respond when needed.
So it's not so much them not wanting to work, it's them hitting that mandatory stop work at $35,000.
I mean, that's true with some of the full, part-time guys that have a pension to worry about. You know, we're lucky to have John Barton, doesn't have a pension, and Stu Lloyd doesn't have a pension, but I don't really have anybody really applying to be part-time. I have people that talk about it, but they're not coming through, following through, applying. So I have really no good candidates. I'm pretty picky with part-timers because to address the entire town board, you guys represent the town of Goshen residents. What kind of police department do they want out there? What do they deserve to have? Do you want part-timers that don't really care, they're just here to make money?
Whoa. What kind of statement is that? The people working for you don't care?
Well, I can back that statement up.
Yeah.
When I took over as chief, go look at the books and how many part-timers hit the road.
I understand.
So my part-timers now they work. They're out there
care,
working.
of course they care.
I'll show you the numbers. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you in the last few years, going back, let me tell you some 4 things that I wanted to bring to the table. Town of Goshen resident had $1.2 million defrauded from her. $1.2 million.
Yeah, right
Town
now,
of Goshen
under
police.
investigation.
Got to deal with that. Healy Ford, $100,000 truck stolen. Through investigation, we were able to get that back. It's now sitting in the yard. There's been thefts going on at one of the group homes where an employee has been stealing money from 2 of the girls that are residents there. 2 of the disabled girls, going back years. There have been, what am I missing? I'm missing one. Let me say, Department of Homeland Security from the U.S. has requested Town of Goshen Police help them because they had somebody living in the Town of Goshen who is from a terrorist-related country called Kazakhstan. He's up to no good. Was living in the Town of Goshen, but we helped them. He's no longer here. So there's all these things that are going on in addition to everything else we do. And there is just 15 minutes ago, an officer screaming for help right up the road. We responded.
Yeah,
So my point is, what kind of police department are we looking to have going forward? And let me also mention, these 4 things I just mentioned, these big crimes, this week. That's this week. It is, so.
Yeah, listen,
We're bursting at the seams. I don't think, it just seems like I have to go through a lot to get a full-time officer back on the force after we just lost a sergeant.
We just, you know what, nobody has said that, and my issue was when you said they don't care. You have police officers that do care.
All my officers care.
Yeah.
But back in the part-time days, that wasn't
I think
true.
what he said, I think what he meant, Phil, is the ones that didn't care are no longer working for us.
Yeah, absolutely, but the people that we have do care, and
We had 8,000 people a day at Legoland last week.
Well, that's,
Along with that comes
that's an
problems.
issue that really is a real, that's a burr in my saddle, Legoland, because they should have their own security forces.
Well, they
When
do.
they
They
came.
do. They do.
Yeah, I
But
know
along with that
but they-
comes traffic
they
and
should
other
not-
incidents that come with that.
And they reimburse us, they pay us for the police officers that are.
So we're bursting at the seams.
Yeah.
I'm here, I did meet with George and Melissa.
Yeah.
Thank you.
For a few hours, and we've decided to offer to anybody in the town council that wants to do it,
Right.
2 hours in the afternoon with Sergeant Edwards, dealing with what he deals with, and then you can do 2 more hours with Officer Geit as a ride-along and see what goes on out there, so. Anybody who wants to sign up for that, you can do it. We're bursting at the seams.
I will tell you that, from the perspective of potential crime, you look at the stats that we have relative to the brand-new LPRs that we put in. In the month of April, we scanned 1,179,320 vehicles that traversed through the town of Goshen. Probably all good, law-abiding citizens, and as you said, we did solve that case for a $100,000 truck for one of our businesses in here. Listen, in my mind, the police department is doing a phenomenal job. I think most
Yes.
residents feel that, and I'm a little bit more privy to the board because I do go out with you guys, and I do see a lot of what you're going through. Goshen is safe because of you, but people would be shocked what goes on in Goshen, is what I will say. You would never think that slow motion Goshen is slow motion Goshen. It really isn't. There's a lot of things that happen here, and we're thankful. I'm thankful, I know the residents are thankful for the work and dedication and effort you guys put in. So. I know that, we've talked about this, let's move on. I think the board, unless you have
Yeah,
anything?
no, I mean, thank you. We did sit extensively, and you, I mean, the amount of work that was put in was phenomenal, honestly. Just your cost savings for new hires, just how you laid everything out was great, all your bullet points. So I am very much in favor. And again, there's no change to the budget for this year, so I have absolutely no problem with the full-time.
I don't think any of us have a problem with replacing.
But let's go on to what might be a little controversial.
Well, how about
So-
me finishing?
What's that?
About letting me finish. All I said is, I don't have a problem replacing the police officers. So, I mean, I understand everybody's trying to sell this thing, and to me, it was a no-brainer. We had a police officer full-time leave. We need to replace that full-time police officer. So that's, just so apparently the board's unanimous. Rick probably feels the same way. Okay, so let's move on to the next thing.
So the next part of it would be the initial cost to bring on a canine. We're in a situation now where we're fortunate because we have a state trooper that was completely trained.
City
Cop that was completely trained in dog care. He works for us part-time. He's willing to take this responsibility on. I will say that part of my reasoning for this is looking at the potential of where we could have, and this would only be a bomb sniffing dog, it wouldn't be a drug sniffing dog. It's strictly for potential issues. And I look at the fact that I think one of the prime potential areas for something like this would be Legolands. And I just want the board to be aware of the fact that we take in about $2 million a year, aside from their taxation and community host fee and taxation from that hotel up there. So for me, this would be a no-brainer, but I will gladly leave it up to everybody else for their positions on it.
Yeah.
start, whoever wants to start.
It would be a bomb sniffing dog, not, it wouldn't be like,
Bomb, gun.
Well, I didn't know this was gonna be on for tonight. I could have brought Mike in, Figueroa. Mike Figueroa, retired K-9 NYPD. We have the guy. We have the guy. Talk of it is that he would be at the entrance at Lego while people are in line. Everybody wants to pet the nice dog. Meanwhile, that dog is constantly air sniffing for gunpowder, explosives, guns. Guns get into Legoland, I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah.
It's a fact.
Chief, didn't he also say something about, and I could be wrong, George, about if there was like a missing child or there was.
So part two, it isn't just designed for Legoland.
Right.
No, part two would be, we have group homes in this town, and people take off from the group homes. It happened last week.
Yeah, or even we had a child that was missing in our neighborhood who was autistic and nonverbal. And they, and the animals are very good at finding the children in a sense.
You get some of their clothes or something and
Yeah.
follow a trail.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I thought that was.
Yeah, I don't believe it's just isolated to Legolands, but I think Legolands is a potential target. So for me, that and the fact that, we have it at such a low cost, I'm in favor of it, but, Phil?
Wow.
You want me to start?
No, you can start with me, it doesn't make any difference. I mean, we're trying to contain this whole thing, and it seems like we're just escalating the police. Does anybody else, don't the sheriffs have dogs, state police? There are other agencies that operate in the town of Goshen, especially when we're talking Legoland. We're not their special police force. And a bomb sniffing dog and so on. I mean, what are the percentages? I have no idea. But the cost, I understand like the cost initially is like $40,000 or something like that. That's a number I heard. I don't know
$40,000 to buy
if
the dog, yes.
To buy the dog,
Yep.
$40,000. Geez. I think we could probably give raises to our planning board chairman and some of our planning board people. It's just, you can just go out of control. We're gonna be like the village. We'll have a horse and then we'll have everything else. And I think right now, we just need to contain everything, especially in this time of the year. Now, if you said that you needed the dog specifically every day because there was a problem and there are bombs being brought in, I understand. But you can do preventative measures for everything in the world. You have good police officers. You have real well-trained policemen. You're well-trained, chief. I mean, somewhere along the line, it has to contain. You have to be contained. When we started the police department, it was only so for the safety of the residents, if there were issues or complaints and so on and so forth, traffic. We started with one police chief and one officer. Before that, we had a constable. And we thought, okay, and we'll get another police officer and another one. Now, how many officers? I think you had, 16 or 17?
I got about 7 full-timers and maybe
Right.
7 or 8 part-timers.
Right, we started with one full-timer, and the amount of people that have grown in Goshen is probably about 1,000 to 2,000 people in all the times when we started that police department. So I mean, just somewhere along the line, especially with a dog and so on and so forth. There's a liability with the dog. I mean, if something happens and the dog does bite somebody or something, I'm not sure if we need that extra liability. So for me, we can borrow the sheriff's dogs or the state police dogs if there's a missing person. I mean,
For that you could, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
That's also based upon availability, correct? I mean,
Yes.
Well, if there's a missing child, you'll get the availability. I mean, at one particular point, we had no police department. The state police are the ones that patrol this whole area and dealt with the crime. But in any event, that's my, sorry, but.
That's okay.
Yep, so when I was out with the chief there and Melissa, came up in conversation about, well, if it's gonna, Joe, you primarily saying it's Legoland, how about if Legoland foots the bill for the dog? And, I came back and I told you that.
Absolutely.
As the chief said, it's not my thing that I should go and ask for.
No, I told you I would look. I told you if the consensus was that we were looking to do that, I would gladly go to Legolands.
Oh, if Legoland foots the bill for the dog, that's a whole different story.
If you get any consensus and Legoland says no, or they say yes, we'll fill up and pick up a full tab, I mean, it's kind of a different.
That becomes a different story.
That I'm gonna be. But anyway, that's one thing. The second thing is, we have a part-time police officer, He stops out at 35,000. What's gonna happen with this police dog, if I understand it correctly, is he'll be up there on a given day for 2-3 hours. He'll come back on another day, 4 hours, so on and so forth. So what happens is, he's up there for 2-3 hours, let's say 9 to 12. But the bad guy comes in at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. There's no dog there. So, you know, it just...
Not always a cop there either. They only bring us up there when they want us to be.
It just seems to me that there's a number of different issues that have to be worked out before I would sign on to the fact that we should have a dog. And I think you were saying just before, you didn't even think this was going to be...
I don't know it was going to be on tonight.
Talked about tonight.
You put it on here, so...
I would have brought Mike in with his dog, with a dog.
well, yeah.
Usually dogs,
So,
people like
anyway,
that.
Do we wanna wait and see?
He's got a
have
couple ones.
Listen, I have
You
no
can do
problem, I have
whatever
no
you
problem.
want. You do whatever, you wanna call for a vote, go on. I know where I am.
Listen,
I mean, if we don't feel like we
Chief?
have all the information.
Yes.
Chief, do you feel the need, it would be a better presentation to the board if you brought Figueroa in with the dog?
I think so, and Sergeant Edwards could explain.
All right, so then why don't we
He's
just
the
vote
numbers
on
guy.
why don't we just vote on the new hire, so you can get
Yeah.
moving
Oh,
on
that
that?
would be okay.
Yeah,
Who,
partial.
what is the
Do you have a
$40,000
question?
what is the $40,000 for? I'm not sure I understand.
What's your question?
Oh,
As somebody who used to work at Legoland, I could not tell you how many times I was stopped walking around the park asking for help, looking for a missing kid, or that there was maybe somebody with a firearm in the park. For the year I was working there, it was
Thank you for
nearly
that.
every day when I was walking.
sure.
Thank you.
Yep. So, why don't we do that?
Let's do that.
Why don't we vote on the new police officers, you can get moving on that, find the right candidate for it. We'll circle back at the next meeting, and have.
We can give a presentation, a
Sure.
little bit more what,
Not
why,
at the
and...
next meeting, maybe the meeting after.
Yeah, okay.
Pretty busy.
Next meeting's busy? I'm on vacation next week. You know that?
May 8th?
Yeah.
No, you're not.
It'll be a light agenda.
I'm leaving it for George. All right, so can I have a motion to allow the chief to go hire and backfill for Sergeant Ramsey?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Need a roll
Aye.
call?
You need a roll call in
No,
that
I
there?
don't, I don't.
Nope.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Very good, thanks,
All right,
Chief.
thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Clerk Riso,
Stay safe.
I apologize for the April 1st newspaper article about changing the name of the town of Goshen to the town of West Warwick. I didn't think people would buy that.
No, I got several phone calls on that.
We're staying Goshen.
Next item, review and approve.
Yeah.
That was one of the phone calls to Mary.
Next item, review and approve the April 10, 2025 town board meeting minutes. Any questions on it? No? So could I have a motion to approve the April 10th minutes?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Discuss and approve a motion to authorize the supervisor to pay accounts payable in the amount of $371,152.73. So Jen attached the actual payable. Any questions on it? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approve the year-to-date budget transfers submitted by budget officer on 4/24/25. Any questions? Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, privilege of the floor.
Am I doing 3 minutes?
3 minutes.
Perfect.
9:30, I gotta go.
Yeah, there's somebody waiting on you.
What's that?
I said, I'm getting text asking for updates on.
Because I gotta be at the airport to pick up my son-in-law.
He's made it clear to me. Sorry.
Frank Marsiglio again, Smith Road, longtime resident. A couple of items I'd like to discuss with the board if possible. This goes back to an email I sent our supervisor back in September regarding the traffic conditions on Smith Road. Never got a response, so I came in and spoke to you in person in the last December meeting. I attended the last meeting, December 2024, expressed my concerns in person about the Smith Road traffic conditions, speeders, commercial traffic, and overweight vehicles. Also explained what the Goshen Police response was when I contacted them. They cited not enough manpower, equipment, time, etc. At that meeting, I was told by our supervisor,
Can you call the person, have him come back up?
Right there.
Go back in?
Yeah.
you want me to wait for him?
No,
Yeah, he's
you
right
know,
there.
You can.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Where is he? Oh, there he is. Yes, sir.
No, I'm letting Frank speak.
I was here in, last meeting, December 2024. I expressed my concerns in person about the Smith Road traffic conditions, speeders, commercial traffic, overweight vehicles. Also explained the Goshen police response when an officer came out to my house. He said there wasn't enough manpower, equipment, time, etc. to deal with it. At that meeting, I was told by our supervisor that the lack of police presence was not acceptable and that he had a plan for Smith Road. But he could not tell me at that time, and he would later. I'm still waiting.
Jim, were you out there?
I got answers.
You do? Okay. A week later, an officer sat in my driveway for 15 minutes because I offered my driveway. And then he left. Not long after that, an old solar trailer mounted speed monitor was set up on Smith Road behind a pine tree in the shade. It would go dead as soon as the sun started to set because 4 p.m. winter, then died altogether after 4 days. A week later, it was removed. That was the last I saw of anything here. So I'm still waiting for your plan. Well, you said you had a plan.
Chief?
So I went out there, so well, I know where you live. You called it in. I went out there with the guys. Did you call in a red Volkswagen that was speeding by?
There was some guy in a little...
You said it was a red Volkswagen.
Fast and Furious.
We have cameras in the area. We never saw it. We sat out there day after day after day. We didn't see a red Volkswagen that you swore came by every day.
Yeah.
But if we did put a speed trailer out there. The sun was working fine. It was right in front of your house. It was right by your house.
It was right in the
where
corner of
people speed.
Samito's property.
Right. We put it right there. You can only put it certain places. Unless you're worried about people speeding a mile down the road, I don't think so. So you wanted it right, you were worried about people speeding by your house.
Yeah.
So we put that there. I don't have the stats with me. It had a little SD card in it. We have all kinds of statistics. Am I over? No. That was his time.
That was my first item.
So anyways, we put the speed trailer out and I have a printout of what it was and the speeds just weren't there, but my guys were out there over and over and they never came up with much.
So could we table this to the next meeting and Frank?
No, we could do that, but we do have a solution. His name is Officer Jason Lewis. We just hired him. He's got about 2 or 3 days on. We can unleash him on Smith Road.
You can give the stats.
We can give you the stats next meeting and what we came up with the speed trail. That's the best we could do.
I wrote 2 speed tickets.
It is kind of old.
Road today. On Smith Road today, I wrote 2 speeding tickets. It takes 5 minutes. You might not always see us, but we are there.
Well,
we're trying.
I understand you could be there all day long and nobody speaks.
You can't regulate people though.
You know what I mean? The next day you got 50 people coming through.
I know.
Right?
Don't
Or
say
you got overweight trucks coming through with texts.
Is it an overweight road? I don't know. Weight restricted?
It's gotta be. Every road has a weight restriction, right?
Well, there's a
I don't know
town
about
line,
that.
a baseline restriction.
They're not supposed to go that direction anyhow.
Yeah, unless they're doing like local, but
So,
yeah,
Jim,
we would love to.
Will you come to the next meeting?
Me?
Yes.
I was here all night long and wanted to
No,
talk.
I know I'm talking
Me
about
too.
to get the stats. You can still continue to talk. I'm talking about to get the stats for your first answer. Will you come
We
to
can
the
come
next
back to
meeting?
the next meeting and we can.
Or would you
Or we
prefer
can
that I
email
email
it
it to
to
you?
us. Yeah.
That's
We can
another
email
subject
it.
I got.
Are you done with
Emails.
me? Are you done? We'll keep on
Well, I
Smith
got some
Road.
more things about police, but we're good. We're good for now. Thank you.
For now.
You got it. We'll come out and try to do more. I know you pulled out of your driveway. You saw us there that day. You should have stopped, and we wondered why you didn't stop and say something to us.
Well,
Put that trailer
You know
out
what? You
there.
guys can sit in my driveway anytime you want.
And it is an old trailer, but it wasn't a sun problem, it was snow. It snowed that time, a year, and the snow got over
It
the
was-
solar
It
panel.
was right behind a pine tree. The thing would go dead 4 o'clock.
It worked fine, wait till you see the stats. All right.
Okay.
So Chief,
Yes.
before you leave.
Yes.
Another possible solution, because it used to be you couldn't put speed bumps, right, on roads. But as I travel around, I just happened to go up to Massachusetts and Vermont, and I believe it was also in New York State. It seems like more and more communities are putting in speed bumps of type, not the ones that you get, your wheels fall off, they make them, they're wider and stuff like that. Is that a possibility that we can do in Goshen?
You'd have
or
to ask
is it
Roderick, I don't think so. I don't think you can.
Not something that can be done?
Not something permanent because it would affect the snowplow.
Oh, right.
There's certain things called traffic calming measures. If you ever drive through a town and you wonder why all of a sudden does this road, I gotta shift over and go around bushes? They put like physical barriers in, or they'll, you know, put some kind of the vibrating, the strips.
Yep.
In,
Maybe,
I don't think
maybe
you
some
could
of
do
those
it.
things can be done.
Maybe, I don't know if you can. I think we ran across that in a couple developments. They wanted speed bumps. I don't think you can just put them in.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay, another item. I'll try and make it brief, because I know everybody wants to go home.
I don't need to go home, I need to go to the airport.
Okay,
I'm giving you 3 minutes, Frank.
3 minutes. Okay, so, prior to coming here tonight, I wanted to send an email to the board. Used to have emails on there, because I emailed you back in September. Now, the only emails that are out there is the town clerk.
My email should be on there. I have a
Yeah,
town email.
yeah.
My email's on there.
Town
Not-
council
not-
were never
Not
on
the
the-
councilmen don't have town emails.
Well, it's not under, it's not under your name, it's not, unless they put it on yesterday. So, I emailed the town clerk, because I had a question. Because to stay informed here, I like to read the minutes. But 60% of the minutes for the past 6 months for the 3 boards were missing. Why? I don't know, so I asked the question. I checked the other day before coming here, they're all back in there now, right? But they're still missing going back a month. Now, I'm pretty sure it's New York State law that requires you to post the minutes within 2 weeks of the meeting. Is there a reason why we can't get those minutes out there?
The town board minutes are out there as soon as they're approved. There was one missing that you brought to my attention, because we've got a new website, so he didn't bring everything over smoothly. So I contacted him, and by the end of the week, I was only in charge of my town board minutes. The planning board fell a little bit behind, because the lady who was taking our minutes left. So that delayed producing minutes for the planning board. And the ZBA doesn't meet all the time, so they don't always have minutes.
Well, you have the meeting dates in there, and you had, like I said, for the past 6 months, you had 60% of
I
them.
don't think it was 60%.
Yeah,
maybe
well, it was more than
40.
one, I'll tell you
Yeah.
that.
I don't think it was 60.
Okay.
He's correct, my email's not on the town.
It's
Not on
not.
the- Nope, he's correct, I just looked.
When did you take it off?
I didn't take it off.
I just looked now, it's Aurora.
Used to
You're
be.
there.
What's that?
They used to be under your
You're
name.
there.
My name is there.
His email's there, I don't see one.
Wow,
Move on with
I
this
would
thing. Go ahead, Frank. Come on.
Keep it rolling.
And
Keep it going.
Again, I sent an email, and again, nobody responds.
Supervisor
Is it
Bencher,
because,
what a directory, and there's a big
I did
thing.
respond,
Gotcha,
Frank.
yep, thank you.
Frank, I did respond on Sunday to you. I did answer your email, Frank.
I never got it.
It's in the.
It must be me, right? Okay.
I can look it up.
I mean, it's,
Spam.
could be.
All right, moving along. So there's talk of purchasing a new town hall, police, and highway department, consolidating, is that true?
Something we're investigating. I'm nowhere
Okay.
near making a decision on it.
All right, my personal opinion is I don't see the need to waste any more of the taxpayers' money for this project, and I vote against it. If anything, the town and the village police should be combined for better efficiency and eliminating duplication of position. Lived in the town 35 years. For many of those years, we only had state police, and they did a fine job. You just quoted how many more people, residents, have showed up. Now, I know the world has changed, but I never understood why we had town and village police.
2 municipalities.
Okay, you know what? But the village is in the town, right?
Yes.
You're not getting an argument from me. Consolidation is right up there with the highest peak for
We've been
me.
trying.
And the
30
chief,
years.
I know he wanted to leave, but at least the village of Goshen police have some rapport with the citizens by posting activity in the Chronicle newspaper. The town, I don't know what they do.
Frank, I responded to Saturday on 3/22 at 11:05 a.m.
I'll check my spam. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'll be brief, ladies and gentlemen, because of the lateness of the hour. Just a couple of comments. Is IWS the group that still owes us like a lot of money from 10 or 15 years ago?
No.
Okay.
They paid.
Enough said.
Well, they
Okay.
didn't owe us, but they gave us $200,000 to make good for all the previous
Done.
stuff.
Okay.
And they pay us $1 a ton moving forward.
Yes, they stuck it to us
But we got it.
for 20 years.
The second item, special permit for the battery energy storage system. If those guys worked for me, they would have all been fired by now. That was one of the most useless presentations I have ever heard. Those guys will say anything at this point. That is an example of a potentially huge liability for the town. I don't think those guys probably have a pot to piss in. You know, you got to have a deep pocket for that type of business. And what kind of insurance are they going to carry in the event of some sort of catastrophe, put up a bond or something like that? These things are, I understand they're necessary for our energy infrastructure. I'm not sure we want them here in Goshen, but they've got to have some real financial stability and be able to put up some insurance or a bond or something to do something like that. Third point is my father fought, you knew my father, vehemently against having a police department in Goshen. 45 years ago or something like that, I was a boy. I'm sorry, the world has changed. I feel much better now that we've got a good police department here in Goshen because there are plenty of bad hombres around here. In terms of the Legoland, I believe it. I hear the stories from my girlfriend who's a state police investigator. There's drugs, there's guns, there's all kinds of stuff. We take in, what did we say, $2 million a year from Legoland or something like that. I love 100% margin businesses. They're my favorite kinds of businesses. If we can get Legoland to help us share some of the security costs, I'd be very, very much in favor of that. But I also don't want to see slow motion Goshen on the 6 o'clock news that there was a mass shooting at Legoland, you know, where a guy came in with a gun and just killed a lot of people. So we've got sort of a civic duty there, but if we can work with those people and they can share in the cost, that would be the ideal outcome. Thank you for your time. Good night, everyone.
Anybody else?
Chris?
All right, can I have a motion to close the meeting?